Chapter 299. Inheritance Trial Space. The Taoist in white looked at Chen Daoxian, who had only been offline for less than a day, and frowned. "Why are you here again?" "I said, with your current cultivation level, you are still far from reaching Tongtian Tower. Even if it is the first floor of Tongtian Tower, you must at least have nascent soul cultivation to try it out." Chen Daoxian shook his head, reporting to the seniors, "The juniors are not oversight. They came to break through the Sky Tower, but the juniors are just wondering." "Doubtful?" "Exactly." Chen Daoxian took a deep breath. The younger generation has always believed that there is no shortcut to comprehend the laws of the Tao. But today, this star map obtained by the younger generation makes the younger generation a little confused. If the rank of the immortal sword can be improved, the sword intent and the Tao level can be improved. What is the meaning of the younger generation and thousands of monks, who are struggling to understand the Tao and seek the Tao? "You are here for this?" The white-robed Taoist chuckled. "Why do you think that your penance must be meaningful? Your heels can be described as extremely poor. You are just a mere mortal. You have worked hard for 100 and 1,000 years to realize the Tao, and you are not even as good as a monk with a slightly better heel. What's more, you are born to be the golden immortal fruit rank. What is the significance of your efforts compared with such existences?" Chen Daoxian frowned deeply. "As far as you are concerned, the Xingqian Kendo map is just a shortcut for you. In the past, you had to study hard to improve the realm of the Tao. Now you can not only improve the realm of the Tao through enlightenment, but also improve the realm of the Tao through treasure refining. It seems that the road is much smoother, but compared with those living beings with extraordinary feet who are born with innate spiritual treasures, you are not." "What? Boy, you should recognize yourself clearly, don't think highly of yourself, and don't look down on yourself." These words, like thunder, exploded in Chen Daoxian's heart. I have to say that, although Chen Daoxian did not show it on his face, he always felt that he was the son of luck and the pride of heaven. Crossing, golden scripture, gold finger. All of this shows that he is the protagonist of the novel. But at the moment when he got the star's Kendo map, Chen Daoxian felt that he was hit. He can use the Hongmeng Enlightenment Sutra to improve his comprehension to quickly comprehend the Tao, and other monks can also use treasures like the Star Sword Tao map to improve the realm of the Tao while refining treasures. It was hard for Chen Daoxian to judge which of the two was higher or lower. But obviously, this method is as incredible as the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic. What is even more terrifying is that the faction to which the Taoist in white belongs can actually replicate this method in batches. After a long time, Chen Daoxian took a step back, bowed deeply to the Taoist man in white, and said sincerely, "Junior, please be taught." "Go." The Taoist man in white waved his hand lightly. Watching Chen Daoxian disappear in front of him, a smile appeared on the face of the Taoist man in white, Gujing Bubo. Consciousness returned to his body again. Chen Daoxian felt the rapidly transforming sword intent, stood up and said, "Luoli, I want to retreat." "Okay." After pondering for a moment, Chen Daoxian continued, "Before the retreat, do something for me." Luoli nodded quickly. "Chen Lang, you are instructed." Chen Daoxian took out a token from the storage bag that symbolized the identity of the patriarch of the Chen family, handed it to Luoli, and said, "Take this token and go to the Chen family to transfer enough spirit stones to transfer the spirit of the magic ape mountain. The pulse is promoted to the 4th rank." "What?" Luoli was stunned when she heard this. "You must know that the spiritual veins of Shuanghu Island are only 3rd-order spiritual veins now. The hundreds of Zifu cultivators newly born in the Chen family rely on the essence of vitality for promotion. Otherwise, relying on the spiritual veins, the Chen family does not know when so many Zifu cultivators will be born. But Chen Daoxian now has no excess vitality essence in his hand, and even if he has it, it is useless. After the vitality essence is taken out, it will dissipate within a few months at most. Therefore, to break through the golden core, he must rely on the 4th-order spiritual veins. The spirit vein rank of Demon Ape Mountain is only 3rd rank, which is not enough to support Chen Daoxian to break through the golden pill. Luo Li is also a decisive person. She knows that this matter is related to Chen Daoxian's path, and she does not dare to neglect. After a brief surprise, she immediately nodded. Chen Lang, don't worry, leave this matter to me. Watching Luo Li leave, Chen Daoxian ordered the black robe to go to the cave next door to retreat, and he also walked to the cave he opened. Inside the cave. As soon as Chen Daoxian sat down, his body was shocked, and he suddenly focused his attention on the Star Sword Dao map in his dantian. He found that the Space Sword intent on the Kendo map has been promoted to the 3rd high level. So fast. Chen Daoxian muttered. His Space Sword intent and Siyu Sword intent were originally only the 3rd middle level. Under the cultivation of the Stars Kendo diagram, his 2 sword intents improved rapidly, and soon broke through to the 3rd high level. My Flying Snow Sword and Qingying Sword are 4th rank top grade swords, so I will soon be able to step into the realm of the Dao realm. Chen Daoxian was a little hard to adapt to, feeling the way to improve the realm of the Dao faster than the opening of the Hongmeng Enlightenment Book of Dao. There are more than 900 people in this world who have obtained this inheritance. It seems that the water in this world is deeper than I imagined. Chen Daoxian secretly guessed. Even if hundreds of thousands of years have passed, and a large number of people have died, the ones who are alive must be the top existences in this world. Although the Qianyuan sword sect became the master of Wan Xinghai, the inheritance of Wan Xinghai became well known, but in the past few thousand years, very few have reached the step of Chen Daoxian. It is the geniuses who have accumulated hundreds of thousands of years who can really reach Chen Daoxian's point. The reason is very simple. In the early years, the inheritance of Wan Xinghai was not exposed, and those who could obtain the qualifications for the trial were all true geniuses. After Qianyuan Jianzong entered Wan Xinghai, although the inheritance here was exposed, the people who came to accept this inheritance trial were too low level. For example, Luo Li. Normally, Luo Li is impossible to obtain the qualification for the trial. But she just obtained the qualification for the trial by virtue of the treasure of enlightenment tea and tea leaves. The same goes for the arrogance of other forces in Wan Xinghai, such as Yi Wudao, Jiang Chenai, and others. But using this tricky method to obtain the qualification for the trial is destined to not go far. After all, the treasures that can temporarily increase comprehension are very precious. Even if it is a big power, it is impossible for the disciples in the clan to use it all the time. This is also the reason why Yi Wudao and Jiang Chenai swayed around with the divine runes of the inheritance trials, but they dared not accept the inheritance trials again. Because they know that with their talent, once they are tested again, they are likely to be eliminated. Only by reaching the step of Chen Daoxian can he be regarded as the seed player inherited here. There are more than 900 people in this world. No, there shouldn't be 900 people. Chen Daoxian shook his head. I don't know how many seeded players I have in Wan Xinghai. In fact, as long as the other party is not exposed, no one knows who got one of these 3 treasures in Wan Xinghai. Just when Chen Daoxian sighed, Chen Daoxian's body shook again. Dao territory. This is a breakthrough. Chen Daoxian felt a little dumbfounded. I knew earlier. Should I spend all my family property and buy a 5th-order fairy sword? In this way, wouldn't my Dao realm quickly reach the Law realm? Of course, Chen Daoxian regretted less than a moment. The 5th-order fairy sword is a treasure that Yuaning Zhenjuan is qualified to hold. Even if the Chen family had enough spirit stones, unless they used the favor of the Hall Master of Zhenhai Palace, they would never be able to buy this kind of treasure. For treasures suitable for Yuanying Zhenjuan, generally Yuanying cultivators will not use spirit stones to trade directly, but use the power of good fortune as a general equivalent. Only the treasures that true monarch nascent soul cannot use will they trade with spirit stones. If you want to use spirit stones to buy the 5th-order immortal sword used by Yuanying Zhenjuan, unless you encounter a situation where Yuanying Zhenjuan is very urgent and needs a lot of spirit stones. This situation is unpredictable. Now the Xingqian Kendo map is integrated into the Tubong 4th Order High-Grade Immortal Sword. In theory, my Dao realm can be directly promoted to the high level of Daoyu realm. This Dao realm surpasses Fairy Qi Yao. Chen Daoxian thought for a while. Now that I have broken through the golden core stage, I just need to make up for the lack of body refinement. As long as the body refining cultivation base breaks through to the realm of rebirth from a broken skull, you can form a pill. Chen Daoxian unfolded his own Dao domain while combing. In just a split second, Chen Daoxuan's Dao territory expanded for a radius of 700 miles. The next moment, 2 stars, one big and one small, were suppressed in the Dao domain, which were the 2 sword intents that Chen Daoxian understood. When I saw Fairy Qi Yao cast the time domain, I didn't see her time sword intent. Chen Daoxian thought about it for a while, and he felt blessed. 2 stars, one big and one small, disappeared in the Taoist realm in an instant, and returned to the Kendo map of the stars in Dantian. I see, Chen Daoxian nodded. Without the filling of sword intent, the power of Daoyu suddenly dropped a lot. Immediately, he tried to call out the space sword intent, and the Daoyu power reached 80% of the heyday. With the addition of the Siyu sword intent, the Daoyu power was directly filled. This repressive force is even more powerful than Fairy Qi Yao's time domain. Chen Daoxian was not too surprised when he saw this. After all, Fairy Qi Yao's time Dao domain was only the first stage of Dao domain realm, which was comparable to him. But Fairy Qi Yao only comprehends one kind of sword intent. Naturally it is not as good as Chen Daoxian, who has comprehended 2 kinds of sword intent. Although the power of the Siyu sword intent is far less than that of the time sword intent, his space sword intent is not inferior at all. What if, call out the star Kendo map? For some reason, Chen Daoxuan's heartbeat accelerated, and he felt that the star sword Dao map seemed to match the Dao domain. Do it when you think of it. This time, Chen Daoxian called out the Xingqian Kendo map directly. Suddenly, a picture scroll spanning the heavens and the earth instantly unfolded on the bottom of the Wangxinghai Sea. Chen Daoxuan's Dao domain was completely covered by this picture. Demon Mountains. Luo Yuanshan, who was retreating in attacking the golden core, raised his head sharply, and a fear from the depths of his soul suddenly surged into his heart. It's Dao domain. Luo Yuanshan sat up in shock. I don't know who is the true monarch. I am Luo Yuanshan, the patriarch of the mermaid clan affiliated to the Chen family in Sangzhou. If I offend you, please ask Senior Hai Han. Luo Yuanshan bowed and put his head under his arms in a submissive gesture. The other mermen were even more frightened by this heavenly threat. For the first time, the star's Kendo map appeared in the world, and Chen Daoxian could not control it perfectly, and only leaked a trace of power, which scared the entire merman clan. Chen Daoxian didn't have the heart to pay attention to the mermen. He was now testing the power of this treasure wholeheartedly. Speaking of which, this is the real treasure in the hands of Chen Daoxian. Since it is a treasure at the bottom of the box, it would be funny if he couldn't figure out his power and the time he could use. If it is said that the ultimate power of Chen Daoxuan's Dao domain just now is 1, then after unfolding the star sword Dao map, the power instantly soared to more than 100. With the increase of the star sword Dao map, the power of the Dao domain has been enhanced by more than 100 times. In the same way, Chen Daoxuan's mana was quickly drained. Breathe. Chen Daoxian looked at the empty Dantian, which was drained of all mana in one breath, and his face was a little blue. Fortunately, his 4th order high-grade life spirit armor is opening the gate to release water, constantly instilling mana into his Dantian. However, the 4th grade good fortune White Lotus can only store more than 100 times the mana at most. If you use this star Kendo map, you can only use more than 100 breaths. 132 breaths, about a little over 2 minutes. Seeing that after being drained, the spiritual light dissipated, and Chen Daoxuan's face paled. Losing the mana support, the star's Kendo map instantly turned into a spot of light and got into his Dantian Qi Si. That feeling just now. Chen Daoxian clenched his fists, far more than Jin Dan Cultivator. Qin Daoxian has only seen Jinhai Hall's Hall Master take action a few times, but he feels that the power of the star's kendo chart just erupted is no less than the power of Jinhai Hall's Hall Master's shot. Yuaning class. Just now, the Xingqian kendo diagram burst out with power comparable to the true monarch Yuaning. Although it was only a short 2 minutes, it was enough for him to sweep all Jindan cultivators. Whole card. This is his real trump card. In the past, magical powers such as soul-setting divine light, 3 heads, and 6 arms, etc., although his strength far surpassed that of a monk of the same level, he could only achieve the same level of dominance. Chapter 300. Demon Mountains. Inside a cave house. A young man with a naked body. Next to the man, there was a pile of blood-colored stones the size of a hill. Compared with blood crystals, these blood-colored stones are not only darker in color, but also filled with a chaotic will that disturbs people's minds, as if countless mournful wailing gathered together. Kill. 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 Die. I want you to die. Qin Daoxuan's face was calm, and he merged the blood marrow into his body, and his heart was like a knife, destroying all the chaotic wills. I do not know how long it has been. Call. Qin Daoxian opened his eyes, it's the limit. Feeling the terrifying physical power, Qin Daoxian felt an indescribable sense of satisfaction in his heart. Compared with the mana of Zifu, the physical power brought by body training seemed more real. This kind of feeling that one fist can stab a hole in the sky is more real and powerful than the nihilistic power of mana. Is this the realm of rebirth from the broken skull? Such a terrifying power is actually only equivalent to the chi-refining cultivation in the Zizifu period. As Qin Daoxuan's soul revolved, he quickly grasped the skyrocketing power after the breakthrough of his body training. It seems that refining the gods can not only make the consciousness stronger, but also allow the monks to better control their own power. As a burst of enlightenment came to his mind, Qin Daoxian suddenly had a deeper understanding of body refining, chi refining, and spiritual refining. With a breakthrough in his body training, Qin Daoxian stood up from the futon. As the body stood up, the futon that was sitting cross-legged directly turned into ashes. This. Looking at the futon that was affected by the breakthrough of the body refining cultivation base, Qin Daoxian shook his head. It seems that my control of the physical strength is not as perfect as I imagined. Although compared with chi refining, Qin Daoxuan's body refining is only equivalent to the first floor of Zifu, and he is still very immature. However, in an environment where body training is generally not taken seriously in this world, Qin Daoxuan's body training practice of rebirth from a broken skull in the Zifu period is already invaluable. Even the direct disciples of many major sects have the same chi cultivation base, and body cultivation base is not as good as Qin Daoxian. The cultivation of the body has reached the realm of rebirth from the broken skull, the realm of the avenue has reached the high level of the realm, and the mana of the Zifu has also been tempered to the limit state, which can be broken through at any time. After 3 years of dormancy in the demonic ape mountain, Qin Daoxian has done his best to prepare for the formation of elixir. Thinking of this, he swept away his consciousness, felt the breath of the fourth-order spiritual veins in the demon monkey mountain, and nodded with satisfaction. Yes, it took 3 years to cultivate this spiritual vein and promote it to the fourth order. It seems that the cost of spiritual stones is more than 1 billion. A little bit of spiritual stone consumption, whether it is in the eyes of Qin Daoxian or the Qin family, is nothing at all. Now, with the industrialization process of Guanhai Xiancheng, the benefits the Qin family reaps every year has skyrocketed several times or even dozens of times. Not to mention Sangzhou, Jingzhou and Taizhou next door to Cangzhou have all paid attention to the new Cangzhou clan of the Qin family. In the past few years, the 2 states and Yuanshan Xiancheng have sent people to the Qin family to seek cooperation with the Qin family, but they were all rejected by Qin Daoyan as the patriarch, ignoring the common things. But this matter cannot be dragged on forever. In addition to matters outside the state, the more important thing is the affairs within Cangzhou itself. Qianyuan Jianzong's expedition to Zenengguan is imminent. As the main force in this battle, Zhangzhou must select a commander-in-chief in the state. Originally, the commander-in-chief should be Zhou Minghe, the patriarch of the new Jindan family in Zhangzhou. However, as the Qin family's development momentum has become more and more rapid in recent years, there are gradually different voices in Zhangzhou. After all, everyone still remembers the scene of Qin Daoxian turning the tide in the true immortal origin realm. Although Qin Daoxian is not a Jindan real person, in terms of strength, he is not necessarily weaker than Zhou Minghe, who was promoted to the Jindan stage. Anyone with discernment knows that Qin Daoxian's cultivation is not as good as Zhou Minghe, but his strength is obviously stronger. Coupled with the rapid development momentum of the Qin family, it is no wonder that everyone is swaying. It is easy to stand in line with the Zhou family now, but who can guarantee that the Qin family will come from behind and will not settle accounts in the autumn? With this idea in mind, there are naturally different voices within Zhangzhou. To everyone's surprise, the Yang family, one of the three major families in Guang'an House, actually stood on the side of the Qin family. Although Yang Linyuan is average in strength, he is a scheming person and has always been famous. Countless people have speculated whether the Yang family knows something that everyone does not know. Just when the outside world was chaotic and noisy, Qin Daoxian's breakthrough had reached a critical period. Outside the cave, Luo Li stood not far from the cave where Qin Daoxian retreated and walked around anxiously. Beside her, a sturdy middle-aged merman comforted, "Don't worry, with the background of Daoxian, breaking through the golden elixir is not easy to catch." Although Luo Xiuyuan didn't know what Qin Daoxian's Dao state had reached, he knew about Qin Daoxian's record. Qin Daoxian's reputation for being able to overwhelm the heroes in the true immortal origin realm has long been spread among the cultivators of the Zifu. At that time, the outside world speculated that Qianyuan Jianzong would definitely set Qin Daoxian in the top 3 of the Zifu Tianjiao list. The results were not as expected. After the true immortal origin realm, Qianyuan Jianzong redrawn the ranking of the Zifu Tianjiao list. Qin Daoxian ranked second, and Fairy Qi Yao was the first. Fairy Qi Yao's avenue has reached the 4th realm, which is indeed better than Qin Daoxian, who only had the 3rd realm at the time. But now, feeling the increasingly depressing atmosphere around him, Luo Xiuyuan, who had tried to break through the golden core stage several times, immediately understood what was going on and turned his head and shouted at Luo Li, "Liar, go back." "Father, it's the golden core thunder tribulation." Luo Xiu looked dignified from afar. "What?" Hearing the golden core thunder tribulation, Luo Li's face was both surprised and worried. She was surprised by the success of AI Lang's formation, and worried that the Jindan Thunder Tribulation was so powerful that it would hurt AI Lang. Seeing his daughter's concern, Luo Xiuyuan pulled Luo Li back and said, "You can rest assured, if he can't survive the Golden Core Thunder Tribulation, who else in this world can achieve Golden Core cultivation?" Having said that, Luo Li should still be worried. As Luo Xiuyuan judged, Qin Daoxian's formation of the pill was unprecedentedly smooth. His breakthrough, rather than a breakthrough, might as well be called water overflowing. Because compared with other cultivators of the Purple Mansion, Qin Daoxian, the Purple Mansion cultivator, has accumulated too much. The Dao realm in the high section of the Dao realm, the body-refining cultivation in the skull-smashing rebirth realm, and the soul that is close to the real person of Jindan. Let Qin Daoxian be unable to advance under the cultivation of the Zifu period. This terrifying accumulation caused Qin Daoxian to run the Qianyuan Sword Sutra, just now, ready to break through the Golden Elixir period. Countless mana poured into his Dantian Purple Mansion, and formed a round golden core with lightning speed. With the condensation of the golden core, his mana transformed again, from the limit state Zifu mana, to the golden core mana, and the power was enhanced. Not only that, in the high Dao realm of the 4th realm, his golden core mana is still being further tempered and strengthened. It's just that this kind of tempering is not achieved overnight, and it is estimated that it will take a few years before the tempering is completely completed. In other words, in the past few years, Chen Daoxuan's strength will continue to improve. It has to be said that Chen Daoxuan's breakthrough to the Golden Core stage this time is easier than his previous breakthrough to the Purple Palace. As for ordinary cultivators who need medicinal pills to assist in breakthroughs, it does not exist for Chen Daoxian at all. With his accumulation, he no longer needs to use medicine pills. If he hadn't deliberately suppressed it and wanted to stabilize his hand, let his body refinement break through first, and then break through the Golden Core stage, it is estimated that he would have become a Golden Core cultivator 2 or 3 years ago. Boom! Chen Daoxian flew straight into the sky, drilled a big hole in the cave with his head, and drilled directly out of the mountain. Standing in the sky, Chen Daoxian saw Luo Li and the others who had retreated 100 miles away at a glance. He nodded to Luo Li and said to the two of them, "You can retreat another 500 miles. What? Before Luo Li could react, Luo Xiuyuan immediately pulled Luo Li back. "Let's go." For the two Zifu cultivators, the distance of 500 miles came in an instant. Seeing Luo Li and Luo Xiu retreating 500 miles away, Chen Daoxian calmed down. He could feel that the power of his Golden Core Thunder Tribulation was much stronger than Zhou Minghe. But Chen Daoxian was not afraid at all. Because compared to Zhou Minghe, his accumulation is more than 100 times that of the other party. If even he can't survive the Golden Core Thunder Tribulation, it is estimated that no one in this world can survive this calamity. Just as Chen Daoxian had expected, Jieyun directly enveloped the radius of 500 miles. Within 500 miles, Chen Daoxian was naked, standing under the robbery cloud, as small as an ant. But it was this ant that exuded a terrifying aura that made even the Thunder Tribulation cloud tremble. Seemingly provoked by Chen Daoxuan's arrogant attitude, the first Thunder Tribulation struck down at Chen Daoxian. Chen Daoxuan's entire body was bathed in the pillar of thunder. That's it. After reaching the Skull Crush Rebirth realm, Chen Daoxian felt like he was soaking in a hot spring, which was a deadly calamity for ordinary monks. Not to mention the damage, he even disliked the hot spring's water temperature. He shook his head. This level of calamity of the physical body doesn't have the effect of tempering the physical body for me, so don't waste time. With that said, his body trembled slightly, and the pillar of thunder was directly shaken away by his terrifying physical strength. Seeing this incredible scene, Luo Xiuyuan couldn't help opening his mouth and murmured, "The Thunder Tribulation was shaken away." Great! Seeing that Chen Daoxian was extremely relaxed, Luo Li's heart was finally put back in her stomach. Next, the second mana robbery and the third divine soul robbery. Under Chen Daoxuan's mana and soul, which was comparable to or even surpassed that of the Golden Core cultivator, it was all easy to pass. Luo Xiuyuan looked at Chen Daoxian crossing the Golden Core Thunder Tribulation, and it was not like the death or life recorded in the ancient books of the clan at all. If it wasn't for Chen Daoxian being naked, he would even think that the other party was here to play. It's too easy. Luo Xiuyuan was still in disbelief. Not only Luo Xiuyuan couldn't believe it, but hundreds of miles away, a Zifu period clear water ape was hiding at the foot of a mountain, secretly peeping at Chen Daoxuan's tribulation. In its view, no matter how strong this Zifu cultivator is, he will not be found hundreds of miles away. And this Zifu clear water monkey is none other than a neighbor of the mermaid clan. He is the patriarch of the Clear Water Monkey clan, who is entrenched on a third-order spiritual vein near the Magic Monkey Mountain. Back then, when Chen Daoxian was building his foundation, he had a face-to-face meeting with the patriarch of the Zifu period Clear Water Monkey clan. It's just that the other party was shocked by Chen Daoxian pulling the Zhenhai Hall banner. Unexpectedly, this one was actually attracted by the movement of Mo Yuanshan this time, and rushed to die. In the eyes of the patriarch of the Clear Water Monkey, it is hundreds of miles away from Chen Daoxian, and the other party has not yet succeeded in transcending the calamity. With the other party's consciousness, it is impossible to find it. As everyone knows, before Chen Daoxian broke through the Jin Dan stage, the range of his consciousness reached 700 miles. After breaking through the golden core stage, the soul was nurtured in the golden core, and the spiritual consciousness immediately more than doubled, reaching a distance of 1,500 miles. The patriarch of the clear water monkey thought that Chen Daoxian would not be able to find it after being separated by hundreds of miles. He was simply ignorant. Courting death. Hundreds of miles away, a thunderstorm sounded in the ears of the clear water monkey patriarch, and then his entire body exploded into a cloud of blood. The next moment, a golden light flashed back. It is the Qingying sword that Chen Daoxian merged into the Xingqian Kendo map. Today's Qingying sword has undergone a peculiar transformation after integrating the space sword intent. It has become a kind of existence between the real and the unreal. At present, Chen Daoxian's sword intent level is not high, and when his sword intent transforms into a law in the future, this shadow-bearing sword will be a sword of space law. The immortal sword is the embodiment of the laws of space. Luo Xiaoyuan and Luo Li didn't even react when Chen Daoxian wanted to kill the Bishui monkey patriarch. It wasn't until he took back the Qingying sword that Luo Li realized that a neighbor from the Zifu period had died. Is that the patriarch of the clear water ape just now? Luo Li nodded. It seems so. A monster in the middle of the purple palace just died like this? Although Luo Xiaoyuan knew that Chen Daoxian was powerful, it was the first time to see Chen Daoxian's action at such a close distance. Never mind that, Luo Li said eagerly, I'll go see Lang Chen first. Seeing his daughter's fiery look, Luo Xiaoyuan couldn't help shaking his head. It's really a girl's fault. Liar. Patriarch Luo. In front of his father, Chen Daoxian didn't have the embarrassment to directly call the lady, but Luo Lilier. Luo Xiaoyuan also knew the relationship between Chen Daoxian and Luo Li at this moment. Just when he felt embarrassed, Chen Daoxian said quickly, Patriarch Luo calls me by my name. Luo Xiaoyuan glanced at Chen Daoxian with a complicated expression, nodded and said, Daoxian. Daoxian, congratulations on your success in forming a pill. From now on, I will be the vassal race of the Jindan clan. Luo Xiaoyuan said with a look of joy on his face. Compared with the relationship between Chen Daoxian and Luo Li, in Luo Xiaoyuan's view, the attachment relationship between the mermaid and the Chen family is more important to him. The Chen family has become the Jindan family. With the power of the Chen family and the strength of Chen Daoxian, the Chen family is very likely to become a dominant force in Sangzhou in the future. At that time, his merman clan will really hold his thighs and have enough background and foothold in the cruel underwater world of Wangxinghai. Patriarch Luo is polite. Just as Chen Daoxian was about to speak, the communication talisman in his storage bag rang. Chapter 301. Sangzhou, Guanhai Xiancheng. 5 years have passed since Chen Daoxian went to the Demon Ape Mountains to retreat to break through the Golden Pill. In the past 5 years, Guanhai Xiancheng has changed a lot. Originally, Guanhai Xiancheng was an unfinished fairy city. At the beginning of the construction of this fairy city, considering the future development, a large blank area was reserved. Today, these blank areas have all become the soil for the industrialization of Guanhai Xiancheng. Guanhai Xiancheng East District, the 7th Industrial Zone. This is one of the magical instrument production bases in Guanhai Xiancheng. In the industrial area, large-scale magical instrument factories stand here. Nie Zhong, are you off work? Nie Zhong, who was wearing a brand new blue factory uniform, just walked out of the factory, when a young man wearing the same blue factory uniform greeted him with a smile. As everyone knows, Nie Zhong heard this, his face turned pale, and he coughed. No big or small, call Director Nie. Hearing this, the young man stepped forward immediately, slapped Nie Zhong on the head, and shouted, Stinky boy, I want you to show off. Hey, don't move, Lao Tzu's new clothes. Baby Nie Zhong patted his new uniform, his face full of pride. The Nie Zhong in front of him and the young man next to him were the first batch of students who entered the Qin family's technical school 5 years ago. Nie Zhong entered the school run by the Qin family. With his steadfastness and willingness to learn, he successfully graduated from the technical school in less than a year. Then he was assigned to this magic tool factory, and he worked for more than 4 years. In the past 4 years, Nie Zhong not only got a foundation pill with the interest-free loan from Changping Industrial and Commercial Bank. Through more than 4 years of work in Social Security, he also obtained an opportunity to break through the foundation building period in Guanghai Xiancheng's main spiritual eye. In the past, a loose cultivator like Nie Zhong, who had no background and no resources, could only win a chance to build a foundation unless he went to the battlefield of Izumo. But now, there are countless scattered cultivators like Nie Zhong in Guang'an Prefecture, who don't need to go to the battlefield of Izumo to work hard to get a good future. People like Nie Zhong are a typical example. From the scattered repair of nothing, the foundation is successfully established. Now, with Nie Zhong's successful foundation building, his artifact refining skills have made new breakthroughs, and he can already refine second-order low-grade magic tools with the help of the Rongling furnace. In this way, not only did Nie Zhong's income skyrocket, but his status in the factory area was also further improved. No, the 7th industrial zone in the east of the city, the 5th factory of the Guanhai Instrument Manufacturing Factory, built a new workshop, and promoted Nie Zhong to be the person in charge of this workshop, that is, the workshop director. Since then, Nie Zhong can be regarded as an official. In the period when he first entered the factory, a mere workshop director who was in charge of mortals and loose cultivators would not have been in the eyes of cultivators like Nie at all. However, as Nie Zhong stayed in the factory for longer and longer, he witnessed the rapid development of the factory and the substantial increase in the income of the casual repairers in the factory. The gold content of Nie Zhong, the workshop director, has also risen further. Along the way, others saw the brand new uniform on Nie Zhong's body, and their eyes were full of envy. "Old Nie, don't show off, let me tell you, I have applied to be transferred to the 9th industrial zone." Sure enough, when Nie Zhong heard this, he immediately pricked up his ears and hurriedly said, "Brother Situ, tell me what's going on. How did you enter the 9th industrial zone? Isn't that an industrial zone that only the direct descendants of the Qin family can enter?" Although the Qin family wants to make Guanhai Xiancheng an industrial fairy city, even the industrial fairy city has different levels of internal confidentiality. For example, the production of first-order and second-order magical instruments with low technical content is carried out in 8 industrial areas in the east of the city. And those with higher technical content, such as the Qin family's mysterious spirit armor manufacturing and automatic spirit talisman manufacturing, are placed in the 9th industrial zone with the highest level of confidentiality. Although the 9th industrial zone has only one industrial zone, its actual area is much larger than the 3 industrial zones in the east of the city combined. The location of the 9th industrial zone is in the outer ring of the north of the city. In the past, only the Qin family members and the direct descendants of the Qin family's vassal families could apply to join this industrial zone. Moreover, the application conditions are extremely strict, not only to go through numerous identity checks, but also to make an oath before entering. It can be said that in this 9th industrial zone, everything is pretended to be the core property of the Qin family. It stands to reason that in such a place, it is impossible for the Qin family to let an outsider in. Seeing Nie Zhong's unbelievable look, Situ Jun smiled and said, "I'm in the Qin family." "You?" Nie Zhong pointed at Situ Jun, his face twitched, "The guy who eats soft rice is so shameless. Just be jealous, my lady is not only beautiful, but also gentle and considerate," Situ Jun said with a flat mouth. "The number of loose cultivators who want to join the Qin family is like a crucian carp crossing the river. You people are sour." Nie Zhong looked at the proud Situ Jun and said he didn't want to talk to him. "Hey, Nie Zhong, don't go, we haven't finished talking yet. Don't bother me." Well, in the end, it's still jealousy. Roll. Qingxi District, this is the old town of Guanhai Xiancheng. In the west area of the city, there are all kinds of shops, inns, banks and other buildings. In the independent courtyard of a high-end inn. Several Ji family cultivators stayed here, and the one headed was actually the Ji family's Jindan elder. Yan Yuan, what did the junior of the Qin family say? In the independent courtyard, an old man in a gray robe was lying on the seat with his eyes slightly closed. The old man sensed the approach of the young monk, opened his sharp eyes, and asked. Third elder, the young monk named Ji Yenyuan, wearing a blue Taoist robe and a restrained expression, said respectfully, the Qin family said that their patriarch is in retreat, and it is inconvenient to see guests. Humph. Hearing this, the third elder of the Ji family raised his bushy eyebrows fiercely. I'm just a junior from the Purple Mansion, so big. Why, do you think that he is lucky enough to win Jiang Zui's waist, so he can treat the world's Jindan cultivators as nothing? There is no wall that does not leak the wind, although Chen Daoxian warned the clansmen not to leak the results of the battle between him and Jiang Zui. The outcome of this battle is still known to the outside world. Perhaps the people who leaked this battle were not the Jiang family and the Chen family, but other monks who were passing by to watch the battle. After all, the battle between Chen Daoxian and Jiang Zui broke out above the Wangxinghai Sea. At that time, the Zhou family held the Golden Core celebration. There were many cultivators in Zifu along the way. If they were not in order, they were seen by a cultivator of Zifu and spread the word. Afterwards, neither the Jiang family nor the Chen family came forward to refute the rumor. Obviously, the acquiescence of the Chen family and the Jiang family undoubtedly confirmed the fact that Chen Daoxian and Jiang Zhu were slightly better in the battle. This time, not only Cangzhou, but the entire Wangxinghai is spreading the name of Chen Daoxian. To be able to win over a late Jindan cultivator with the cultivation level of the Zifu period, even the first place in the Zifu Tianjiao list is difficult to achieve. You must know that Jiang Zui is not an ordinary late-stage Jindan cultivator, although he failed to make it to Wan Xinghai's Jindan real person list. But in terms of strength, it is a lot stronger than the ordinary late Jindan cultivator. If it weren't for this, Jiang Zui would not be known as the closest cultivator of the Jiang family to the nascent Soul period. But listening to the tone of the third elder of the Ji family, it was obvious that Jiang Zui was not taken seriously. Ji Yenyuan saw that his third elder was furious and did not dare to speak, so he immediately knelt down and buried his head deeply on the ground. Ji Yenyuan knew that although the third elder of the family was powerful and ranked on the Jindan reality list, he had a disadvantage, that is, jealousy and cruelty, or extreme murderousness. Ji Yenyuan didn't understand why the family sought to cooperate with the Chen family and sent such a killing over. The full name of the third elder of the Ji family is Ji Suhui. His name is bright and infinite, but his behavior is completely different from his name. Not to mention Ji Suhui outside, even inside JIS house, there are murderers who can stop children from crying. Now that Ji Yenyuan is following behind this master, it is better to say that he came to the Chen family for trouble more vividly than to seek cooperation with the Chen family. The members of the Ji family stayed in Guanhai Xiancheng for less than 3 days. The Chen family said that Chen Daoxian had retreated to break through the golden pill. This Ji Suhui was extremely unhappy, as if he had been wronged by the heavens. Ji Yenyuan dared to guarantee that if Chen Daoxian was not standing behind the palace master of Zhenhai Palace, because of this Ji Suhui dared to bloodbath this immortal city. Bloodbath a fairy city, this Ji Suhui did a lot in Izumo. Even. According to rumors, the other party has also done such evil things in Wanxinghai. It's just that Qianyuan Jianzong did not capture the evidence, and secondly, due to the background of the Ji family, it did not go into depth. Seeing Ji Suhui getting more and more angry, Ji Yenyuan hurriedly knelt down and said, Third elder, although Chen Daoxian is in retreat, the disciple has investigated in detail the large workshop opened by the Chen family in Guanhai Xiancheng in the past few days, and has made an amazing discovery. Oh. Ji Suhui raised his eyebrows. What did you find? Ji Yenyuan breathed a sigh of relief. He quickly stood up, and took out 3 things from the storage bag. They are a second-order flying sword, a second-order rejuvenation pill, and a second-order lightning-gathering talisman. Third elders, please take a look. This is what the disciples have investigated in Guanhai Xianqing in the past few days. Ji Suhui flipped through it at will, and found that they were all low-level magical medicine pills, and he was suddenly lacking in interest. It's all junk, what do you use it for? After all, Ji Suhui threw it on the ground in disgust. Seeing this, Ji Yenyuan bravely picked up these 3 items one by one, and said patiently, Third Elder Mingjian, these items are indeed difficult to get into your eyes, but for the cultivators of the Foundation, they are all indispensable. Nice one. He paused. On the market in Jingzhou, a second-order high-grade magic weapon can be priced at most 30,000 to 40,000 spirit stones, and the Qin family can actually mass-produce such a magic weapon. Hearing this, Ji Suhui became interested. You just said mass production. Exactly, I once performed the ecstasy technique on a loose cultivator in the eastern district of the city, and the other party personally disclosed the output of such second-order instruments. According to the other party, the most common magic tool factory in Guanhai Xianqing can produce thousands of second-order magic tools per day. In the east area of the city, there are such factories of magic tools everywhere, not only the number, but also the types of magic tools. Wow! Hearing this, Ji Suhui stood up abruptly. He grabbed Ji Yanyuan's shoulder, stared at the other party with his eyes fixed, and his eyes showed a look of extreme excitement. One workshop can produce the number of second-order magic weapons in one day. Thousands? Do you know how much they cost? Ji Yenyuan endured the severe pain from his shoulders, gritted his teeth and said, I don't know, that loose cultivator doesn't know much, except for the speed of his personal refining and the number of people in the factory. I don't know anything about it other than the output. Seeing Ji Yanyuan's pained expression, Ji Suhui gently released his hand and said, Oh, this magic weapon was made by him. Exactly, Ji Yenyuan nodded. According to what he said, he can refine a second-order magic weapon within 3 hours. Impossible. Ji Suhui shook his head and said, Although I am not an artifact refiner, I have personally observed the artifact refining by an artifact refiner in the clan, and it is impossible to do so quickly. This is also where the disciples are puzzled. The artifact refining masters trained by the Qin family, why are artifact refining so fast? Hearing this, Ji Suhui laughed. It seems that we have come to the right Qin family. Originally, the ancestors saw Zhangzhou becoming increasingly chaotic and wanted to force his hand, but he didn't expect to pick up a big bargain. Although I don't know why the Qin family was able to refine a magic weapon in such a short period of time, Ji Suhui had a hunch that the Qin family hid a huge secret, maybe. This is the real reason for the rapid rise of the Qin family. Although Ji Suhui doesn't like low-level magical tools, but the number of low-level magical tools is much different, and the meaning is very different. Lingshi, not to mention Ji Suhui, even Yuanyingzhenjuan, Yuanshan Daojun can't do without it. Just because of the power of creation contained in the spirit stone, it can not only act as a currency among low-level monks, but also play a certain role in nascent soul and even higher-level monks. The only troublesome thing is that it is very cumbersome to extract the power of creation in the spirit stone. Fortunately, there is no way to simply extract the power of good fortune in the spirit stone, otherwise this kind of thing would have been monopolized by high-level monks long ago. It is absolutely impossible for low-level monks to trade with each other at will. Seeing the contemplative expression on the third elder's face, Ji Yenyuan did not dare to interrupt. After a long while, Ji Suhui stood up abruptly. Come on, let's go to the Qin family's factory to see it. 3 elders, are we going to be so aggressive? Hey! Hearing this, Ji Suhui smiled lightly, turned his head and said, I really don't know how the family teaches the younger generation now. Boy, I will teach you to be good. Any treasure in this world is owned by whoever is powerful, understand? I see that your juniors are the ones from the Qianyuan sword sect who have smoothed their brains and blood. Although he did not agree with the words of the third elder, Ji Yenyuan was still a little bit sullen when he was pointed at the nose and scolded by the elders of the family, and immediately said, The third elder, please. That's right. Ji Suhui nodded with satisfaction. With me here, what are you afraid of? What the three elders said is very true. View Haixinqing. City Lord's Mansion. Since the Qin family built Guanhai Xianqing into an industrial fairy city 5 years ago, the core of the Qin family's work has been transferred from the Shuanghu Island industrial zone to Sequoia Island. It has to be said that with the foundation of the Shuanghu Island industrial zone, the industrialization process of Guanhai Xianqing is progressing extremely smoothly. The only obstacle encountered may be that Guanhai Xianqing has too much production capacity, and the existing market cannot digest it at all. Chen Daoyan was obedient, and stored all the excess instruments and medicinal pills produced. After Chen Daoxian successfully formed the pill, he would solve the problem of the sales market. Despite this, Chen Daoyan was still a little frightened when she saw the accumulation of more and more various medicinal herbs. After all, compared with the original Shuanghu Island industrial zone, after the scattered repairs were brought into the Qin family industrial system, the production capacity that erupted in Guanhai Xianqing was more than 100 times that of the past. If it weren't for the delay in solving the sales market problem, the expansion rate of Guanhai Xianqing's industrial scale would be more than 10 times faster. In the city lord's mansion, Chen Daoyan is concentrating on checking various approval documents. Immediately, an astonishing momentum erupted from the east of the city. Who is it? Dare to make trouble in my Qin family? Chen Daoyan suddenly stood up. In the past 5 years, although Qin Daolian's strength has not improved much, with the control of the huge machine of the Qin family, the power of Chen Daoyan has increased day by day. At this moment, he was angry, and it really made others tremble. Chapter 302. Guanhai Xianqing, Qingdong District. Who dare to spy on the secrets of my Qin family? A loud shout resounded throughout the eastern district of the city. Immediately afterwards, a cyan light burst into the sky and crashed toward the east of the city. Boom! With an explosion, a figure wearing cyan spirit armor stood in front of the 3G family cultivators. My Qin family said that the young patriarch is in retreat, and it is inconvenient to see guests. Are your Ji family trespassing on my Qin family's important place to provoke a dispute between Sangzhou and Jingzhou? Although his whole body was wrapped in cyan spirit armor, he could still tell from his voice that this person was the military minister of the Qin family, Qin Fusheng. In 5 years, Qin Fusheng's cultivation has not changed much, and he has only been promoted to the middle of Zifu. When the Qin family had so much vitality essence, Qin Fusheng's cultivation progress was extremely slow. But his strength, compared to 5 years ago, has undergone earth-shaking changes. 5 years ago, Qin Fusheng might have barely made it to the Zifu Tianjiao list with his third-order high-grade power spirit armor. And the ranking on the Zifu Tianjiao list will not be too high. But in 5 years, Qin Fusheng's Dao realm not only broke through the third-layer star transformation realm, but also created his own sword art that fits his Dao realm. You must know that in the same Dao state, there is a huge gap between the monks who created their own sword art and those who did not create their own sword art. Before Zhou Mubai created his own sword art, his ranking on the Zifu Tianjiao ranking was barely mid to low. But after he created the Qinglian sword art, his ranking on the Zifu Tianjiao ranking rose by leaps and bounds, and he jumped into the top 10, becoming the top Zifu cultivator in Wangxinghai. Zhou Mubai's strength was even comparable to that of the Jindan real person who had just broken through. At this time, Qin Fusheng belonged to this situation. It is true that Qin Fusheng's Dao realm is only at the 3rd stage, slightly inferior to Zhou Mubai, but Qin Fusheng has learned the melee magic power of 3 heads and 6 arms, which is enough to make up for this gap in Dao realm. Coupled with Qin Fusheng's possession of a 3rd-rank high-grade power spirit armor, the two are really fighting each other, and Zhou Mubai is probably not Qin Fusheng's opponent today. I have to say that in the past 5 years, although Qin Daoxuan's progress has been amazing, the progress of the younger generations of the Qin family has not been slow. Except for Qin Fusheng, the remaining 9 Qin family sword cultivators, relying on the third-order low-grade power spirit armor, can basically compete with the cultivators who are ranked at the bottom of the Zifu Tianjiao list. Coupled with Qin Daoxuan's breakthrough to the Golden Core stage, his strength is so powerful that he can't even figure it out himself. In this way, the Qin family's current strength is really not weak. East District. Not long after Qin Fusheng stopped the Ji family cultivator, one after another, they flew towards this place with extreme speed. The cultivator of the Zifu escaped quickly, and in the blink of an eye, 300 figures stood behind Qin Fusheng. If you look closely, you will find that the more than 300 cultivators of the Purple Mansion behind Qin Fusheng are wearing at least second-order high-grade power spirit armor. The dozens of people standing in front are wearing third-order low-grade power spirit armor. Seeing so many cultivators of Zifu, and wearing the same cyan spirit armor, the contempt on Ji Suhui's face subsided slightly and became a little more serious. Outsiders say that Sangzhou doesn't even have a decent cultivator family, but I didn't expect this old man to see so many Zifu cultivators here today. Ji Suhui looked around at everyone and said with a smile, "Interesting, really interesting." He paused, however. Do you think the gap between Zifu and Jindan can be eliminated just by the number of people? Qin Fusheng had a cold face and cupped his hands. My Qin family has no intention of offending seniors, but this is the secret place of my Qin family. If seniors take a step forward, don't blame my Qin family for being rude. Ha ha ha. Ji Suhui laughed wildly. Rude? A junior in the middle of the Purple Mansion, how dare he say such rude words? It seems that the old man has not done anything in these years, and the outside world has forgotten the name of the real blood slaughter. After all, the old man's eyes flashed thunder. However, Qin Fusheng and others responded faster. Don't look at the fact that there are only more than 300 cultivators in the Purple House, but all of them are cultivators of the Qin family. The military cultivator of the Qin family was the military department that Qin Daoxian personally established to defend the family. Although the cultivator's great power is attributed to himself, as long as the cultivation base is high, the strength will not be weak. But with the same cultivation, there are always those who are good at fighting and those who are not good at fighting. For example, some monks are good at cultivating immortal arts such as alchemy, weapon refining, and formation, but they are not good at fighting with people. No matter how high this kind of cultivator is, normally, no cultivation force will push them out to fight with others. Therefore, for any major cultivation force, it is necessary to establish a special force department. Ordinary small families may not pay much attention to these, but the slightly larger Jindan family and even the Yuanying family will have departments that focus on production and departments that focus on force. The military department of the Qin family is the military department of the Qin family. As the military department of the Qin family, the military department of the Qin family took into account the preparations for various combat situations at the beginning of its establishment. Fighting with high-level monks as low-level monks is a compulsory course for these military monks. From the point of view of a loose cultivator, a low-level monk fighting a high-level monk is no different from courting death. But for the military cultivator of the Qin family, not necessarily. One of the magic weapons for low-level monks to fight against high-level monks is the formation method. The formation method is one of the compulsory subjects for all the cultivators of the Qin family. Arrangement. Seeing that the two sides could not be kind, Qin Fusheng shouted. Immediately, more than 300 escaping lights scattered out, in the sky and the ground, in all directions, surrounding Ji Suhui in the center. This is the most instructed by the cultivators of the Qin family's military department, and it is also the most powerful combination attack method, called Fanqing Sword Formation. This formation takes the formation of people as the meaning of the stars, and surrounds the enemy like the stars and the moon. Of course, siege and suppression are only the most basic functions of all group attack formations. The reason why this star sword formation is favored by the cultivators of the Qin family's army is that it shares the role of attack. Once the Fanqing sword formation is formed, as long as the enemy trapped by the formation cannot break the upper limit of the formation, his attack will be shared by the formation. An attack by a Jindan cultivator would definitely be fatal to a Zifu cultivator, but if it were distributed to dozens of Zifu cultivators, it would be hard to help the other party. If there are more than 300 people. Ji Suhui is a master of art and boldness. As a cultivator of the Jindan reality list, the name of the blood slaughter is not only in the Wangxinghai, but even among the Jindan real people in Xianyun Prefecture, it is very prestigious. There are only a few hundred cultivators in the Purple Mansion. If ordinary cultivators of the late Jindan stage were here, they would be a little terrified. But the number of cultivators in the Zifu that he killed in his life far exceeded this number. Therefore, seeing Chen Fuxing and others forming a siege, Ji Suhui not only did not take the opportunity to destroy it, but also the old waited in place and let them do what they wanted. During the period, Ji Suhui did not forget to educate the younger monks in the clan. You guys are optimistic, all formations, in front of absolute strength, are all garbage. If the military cultivator of the Chen family is defeated, let Ji Suhui break into the Chen family industrial area, and let the Ji family cultivator discover all the secrets of the Chen family's industrial production. It is bound to be more coveted by the Ji family, the Yuanying family. Even if the Ji family won't make a clear robbery because of the Zhenhai Palace master behind the Chen family, there will definitely be no less dirty tricks behind them. Being targeted by such a behemoth Jingzhou Ji family will inevitably bring great obstacles to the development of the Chen family. Under the dilemma, it is no wonder that Chen Daolian felt anxious. At this moment, Chen Daolian couldn't help but secretly blamed herself. The young patriarch only handed over the family to her for 5 years, and she encountered such a big problem. It is hard to imagine how the young clan chief and the old clan chief survived the family crisis when the strength of the clan was still weak. In the past, Chen Daoxian had been shielding the family monks from the wind and rain. When Chen Daolian took over the family, she realized how difficult it was for a family force to survive in the world of immortality. Looking around, they are all well dressed, but under their humble and polite appearance, all they hide are naked interests and wolf ambitions. This point, whether the Chen family is weak or strong now, has not changed. Just when Chen Daolian frowned, a voice that made her almost cry with excitement rang in her ears. It seems that I came back in time. Hearing this, Chen Daolian quickly turned her head and saw behind her, a pair of young monks, like Biren, standing behind her. The young monk's white robe was spotless, and a faint smile appeared on Jun Lang's face. The female cultivator next to her had an alluring face, a slender figure, and her waist could only be grasped. It's just that the female cultivator's eyes were all placed on the male cultivator beside him at the moment, as if turning a deaf ear to the battle not far away. These two were just Chen Daoxian and Luo Li, who used Mi Chen Fan to rush back immediately after receiving the message from Chen Daolian. Young patriarch. Chen Daolian immediately jumped into Chen Daoxuan's arms with excitement, looking like she was crying. Chen Daoxian supported Chen Daolian's shoulders, rubbed her head, and said with a smile, "You're such an adult, and you still cry. I remember you were the toughest when you were a child, and you never cried." Chen Daolian blushed. Chen Daoxian made fun of the other party, and stopped talking, standing with his hands behind his back, his eyes on the battlefield. Front. The battle between Ji Suhui and the cultivator of the Chen family's military department has completely entered into a white-hot battle. Chen Daoxian glanced at him and found that this Ji Suhui was an individual cultivator in addition to his purifying cultivation. The realm of rebirth from a drop of blood. Indeed, under the blessing of Thunder Dao Domain and blood-dropping realm body refinement, his attack power surpassed the peak of Jindan, and directly entered a special level between Jindan cultivator and Yuanying Zhenjuan. This is also the reason why he can be on the Jindan reality list. The attack power can reach this level, not to mention the cultivator of the Zifu. Even if the ordinary cultivator of the late Jin Dan comes, he can't withstand a few rounds of his full-strength attacks. This is also the confidence of Ji Suhui's arrogance and domineering in the Qin family. But now, although his attack has broken the tolerance limit of the star sword formation, the part of the power that exceeds it can't break the defense of this Zifu cultivator. This can't help but make Ji Suhui a little dumbfounded, not to mention the cultivator of the Zifu. The ordinary cultivator of the late Jin Dan stage doesn't have such a terrifying defense, right? And, shouldn't the cyan spirit armor on his body be a third-order high-grade spirit armor? Why is the defense so terrifying? And the other side's comprehension of sword intent and sword art, all of them are defensive sword intent and sword art. The back-earth sword intent that Qin Fusheng understood was originally born out of the Qin family's rock sword art. At the beginning, the Qin family was not as good as now, and there were not many swordsmanships that could be provided to the family cultivators. And what Qin Fusheng liked the most was this rock sword art. In fact, as a sword cultivator who is good at attacking, the Panshijian Ju and the thick earth sword intent that he later realized are really not in line with the appetite of most sword cultivators. As a sword cultivator, who doesn't want to attack Wushuang, or even fight beyond the ranks, all of them regard themselves as the favored sons of heaven. Only Qin Fusheng, in terms of kendo talent, Qin Fusheng's kendo talent is stronger than Qin Daoxian himself. In Qin Daoxuan's opinion, Qin Fusheng's kendo talent can even be compared with Zhou Mubai of the Zhou family. You must know that Qin Fusheng was able to comprehend the sword intent during the qi refining period. Although Qin Daoxian helped him, the more important reason was still Qin Fusheng himself. When Qin Daoxian first realized the sword intent during the qi refining period, he realized it completely by relying on the ability to store his understanding in the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic. If he relies on his own understanding, whether he can comprehend the sword intent during the foundation establishment period is a matter of two things. Qin Daoxuan's kendo talent, looking at Sungzhou, can only be said to be a kendo genius, but he can't be regarded as a monster. But with the blessing of the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic, the evildoer is not enough to describe his degree of perversion. Even so, after accepting a few epiphanies, Qin Fusheng actually achieved a level comparable to that of Qin Daoxian, which shows how powerful his kendo talent is. However, although Qin Fusheng's kendo talent is strong, his will to win is not strong. Compared to winning, Qin Fusheng's heart is to protect the safety of the Qin family. This can be seen from his swordsmanship. A monk's mouth may deceive people, but a monk's way will never lie. It is difficult for a cultivator with a protective heart to comprehend such a profound sword intent, let alone create such an amazing defensive sword art. Boom! Another dull explosion. The thunder light pierced through the khaki aperture and bombarded Qin Fusheng's cyan spiritual armor on his chest, causing him to sway slightly. But that's all. Not to mention the injury, Qin Fusheng didn't even change his eyes. Do not break defense. Under the shared pressure of the Fanqing sword formation, Ji Suhui, the top real person on the Jin Dan reality list, could not even break the defense of a middle-stage cultivator of Zifu. Speaking of this scene, its sensational effect is no less than that of Qin Daoxian defeating Jiang Zui. On the field, Ji Suhui had a livid face, murderous but helpless. Ji Yenyuan and Ji Yenyuan were both pale. Even if they are fools, they can see that the situation at this time is not good for the three of his Ji family. The third elder is too big to see the Zifu cultivator. Ji Yenyuan secretly said. As a Zifu cultivator who has entered the real fairyland, he clearly knows how perverted the Zifu cultivators who are at the top of the Zifu Tianjiao list. In his opinion, Fairy Qi Yao, who ranked first, and Qin Daoxian, a cultivator of the Qin family who was born at that time, are definitely much stronger than ordinary Jin Dan cultivators. Although Ji Suhui is on the list of real people of Jin Dan, it is too reckless to rush up like this when there are more than 300 Zifu cultivators waiting in line with this level of Zifu cultivator. But as a junior in the clan, in the face of such a brutal third elder of the Ji family, Ji Yenyuan did not dare to say any words of persuasion. You must know that Ji Suhui's name of cruelty is famous not only in the outside world, but also in the clan. Ji Yenyuan clearly remembered that there was once a clan of the early Zifu family in the Yanzi generation. Because of his disobedience to the third elder, he was directly punched into flesh by the opponent. Because of this, the third elder was punished by the ancestors into the family's heart-refining cave for 13 years. But out of Lianxin cave, Ji Suhui went directly to the battlefield of Izumo. Not only did his personality not change, but he also set off a storm on the battlefield of Izumo, earning the name of Blood Slaughter. This time, the family sent him and the third elder to come to the Qin family, wanting to inquire about the truth of the Qin family. To be honest, Ji Yenyuan felt fear and rejection from the bottom of his heart. No one wants to stay with a lunatic, yes, in Ji Yenyuan's eyes. The third elder Ji Suhui is strong, but he is too crazy. He had no doubt that if Ji Suhui won today, he might go crazy and slaughter Guanhai Xianqing next. By then, the trouble they have caused will be big. Whether the Ji family will be implicated and punished by Qianyuan Jianzong, Ji Yenyuan does not know, but as an entourage, he will definitely not be able to escape. Thinking of this, Ji Yenyuan even expected that Ji Suhui would be better off with Qin Jiado, and the two sides would stop. However, things didn't go his way. Unable to attack for a long time, Ji Suhui went completely crazy. Dead. Die. Die. You ants of the Qin family have a way of fighting against me alone. Later, the old man will break the line, and you will definitely leave your Qin family behind. All to die for. Hearing this, Qin Daoxian, who was standing with his hands behind his back and watching the battle from a distance, turned cold in an instant. Ji family Ji Suhui, even if he was not a cultivator at the beginning, had heard the name of the real Blood Slaughter. Ji Suhui may not be the strongest of all Jindan real people, but he is definitely the most notorious. Most of his fame stems from the indiscriminate killing of innocents. For this kind of lunatic, although he and the other party belong to the same camp of Wan Xinghai, Qin Daoxian undoubtedly despises this kind of person. Standing. He actually heard Ji Suhui's promise to slaughter the Qin family. How could Qin Daoxian not be angry? For others, killing your whole family may be a momentary word, but for Ji Suhui, the real person of blood slaughter, it is a naked declaration of war. Its nature is 100 times, 10,000 times more serious than the one he had with Jiang Zui at the beginning. It can be said that any force in Wan Xinghai will be indifferent after hearing Ji Suhui, a madman, say that he wants to kill your whole family. Even the Qianyuan sword sect cannot do it, because any cultivation force has low-level monks who are not strong. And these low-level monks are the future of this force. Ji Suhui's words almost mean that he will never die. Not only Qin Daoxian. Even Ji Yenyuan's complexion changed drastically after hearing this. He didn't even care about his own life and death at the moment, and shouted, "Everyone from the Qin family, this is what Ji Suhui said alone, and it has nothing to do with my Ji family." Ji Yenyuan knew that the Qin family was not without background. If Ji Suhui really dared to slaughter the city, he would definitely die. Qin Daoxian glanced at him coldly. Ji Yenyuan only felt like falling into an ice cellar, until Qin Daoxian looked away. He showed a relieved expression. Immediately, his face froze. This Qin Daoxian has become stronger again, and he has suddenly reached the golden stage. Qin Daoxian didn't care about Ji Yenyuan's psychological changes, only to see him flashing and appearing directly in front of Ji Suhui. Ji Suhui was completely crazy now. Seeing someone blocking him in front of him, he didn't even look, and punched Qin Daoxian directly. Thunder flickered on his fists, and the momentum was pressing, making Qin Daoxian's magic robe screeching. Chapter 304. Boom! A loud explosion. A golden figure bounced back at a very fast speed, and then hit a transparent barrier, making a dull sound. Qin Daoxian stood in the air, looking indifferently at Ji Suhui, who was blasted 100 meters away by his palm and hit the space barrier. Cough cough. Ji Suhui staggered to his feet and looked around in horror. Space cage. Law realm. Ji Suhui paused word by word and gritted his teeth. This move Qin Daoxian used was exactly the one used by the master of Zhenhai Palace to suppress the real person of Xinjiue with a snap of his fingers, the space cage. Being able to use this trick proves that Qin Daoxian's Dao realm has made a huge breakthrough when he broke through the Golden Core stage. The so-called Law realm refers to a sword cultivator's understanding of a certain sword intent, reaching a very deep level. At this level, it is no longer possible to simply use sword intent to describe it, but to call it the law. When a monk comprehends the Tao, he is essentially comprehending the Taoist law. As the so-called Tao 3000, it means that Tao is composed of various laws. Only when a cultivator has reached this point in his practice can he be said to have taken the first step on the road of comprehending the Tao. As for the sword intent in the first four major Tao realms, it is only a prerequisite for comprehending the law, not even the skin of the law. The first time Qin Daoxian's space sword intent was transformed into space law, the space star on the star sword Tao map in his Dantian skyrocketed nearly 100 times in an instant. Compared with the sword intent stars transformed by the Cu sword intent next to him, it was hundreds of times larger. Cu star is next to the space star, like an inconspicuous satellite. If you don't pay attention to it, you will even ignore its existence. Inside the space cage. Ji Suhui looked at Qin Daoxian resolutely, raised his head and said, "What about the realm of laws? After all, you are just a cultivator of the Jin Dan period, and I am the third elder of the Ji family of the Yuanying family. You dare to kill me? Hear this." Guanhai Xiancheng cast more gazes around. Ji Suhui forced his way into Guanhai Xiancheng, which caused a huge commotion in Guanhai Xiancheng. It's just that the city guards have been maintaining order in the city, so there is no turmoil. However, as a large family in Sangzhou, the Qin family has a large number of loose cultivators in Guanhai Xiancheng. Therefore, there are also many people who watch the fun and don't think it's a big deal. Just like when the mermen attacked the immortal city of Guang'an Prefecture, a large number of scattered cultivators gathered to watch. This time Ji Suhui forced his way into the Guanhai Xiancheng industrial zone, and there were still many scattered cultivators onlookers. Don't say anything about the Jin Dan cultivator fighting a group of Zifu cultivators. The risk of onlookers is high, and there are still many loose cultivators who are not afraid of death in the cultivation world. Feeling the gazes, they came from all directions in the city. Qin Daoxian said with a cold face, "Ji Suhui, you forcibly broke into my Qin family's important place today, provoked first, and then even uttered mad words to destroy my Qin family. Such a frenzied act, not only my Qin family cultivator took a photo to witness it, but also watched it. The thousands of loose cultivators in Haixian City are also watching." Speaking, Qin Daoxian glanced at Ji Yenyuan, and said coldly, "You just said that Ji Suhui's trip was all done by him alone, and it has nothing to do with your Ji family, right?" Hearing this, Ji Yenyuan's face turned pale immediately. He cupped his hands, trembling and speechless. "Senior, I. You just have to answer, yes or no." "Yes." Ji Yenyuan bit his head and closed his eyes. "Good." Qin Daoxian turned his head and looked at Ji Suhui. "You heard, your Ji family said that you are responsible for everything you did before, and it has nothing to do with the Ji family. Now I kill you, what else do you have to say?" Qin Daoxian. Ji Suhui's eyes were split. "How dare you? I am the third elder of the Ji family. If you kill me, my ancestor of the Ji family will never let go." However, before Ji Suhui finished speaking, Qin Daoxian stretched out his palm, and then squeezed it hard. The next moment, the space cage collapsed rapidly. Seeing the collapse of the space cage, Ji Suhui naturally did not want to sit still. He was completely mad, and all kinds of desperate secret techniques that he did not want to perform before were madly displayed. Sure enough, under Ji Suhui's desperate efforts, his attack power skyrocketed again. The speed at which the space cage collapsed also quickly slowed down. Seeing this scene, Ji Suhui was overjoyed. There was a show. As the top real person on the Jindan real person list, Ji Suhui's strength is not as good as the real Jindan real person in the law realm. However, Ji Suhui found that although Chen Daoxian was a Jindan cultivator, his cultivation was only in the early stage of Jindan. This means that with Chen Daoxian's mana, the fifth major Dao realm, the space cage of the law realm, will definitely consume a lot of mana. Such a violent consumption of mana, with Chen Daoxian's initial cultivation of Jindan, may not be able to hold on to much breathing. As long as he tried his best to survive these few breaths, when Chen Daoxian was out of mana, he would have the opportunity to take advantage of his unpreparedness to escape. As for taking advantage of Chen Daoxian's lack of mana, Ji Suhui had not thought about it, but immediately gave up on the idea. In the group of monks at the level of Jindan real person, they also made a rough division of the strength of Jindan stage. Among the Jindan cultivators, the weakest are naturally the cultivators who have just passed the Jindan Thunder Tribulation and have not even completed the tempering of mana. This kind of cultivator's strength is only different from the fake alchemy cultivator. It belongs to the weakest existence among the cultivators in the Jindan stage, and even some cultivators of Tianjiao Zifu are stronger than this kind of Jindan cultivator. For example, Zhou Mingho, the head of the Zhou family, is probably at this level. The strength of the Jindan cultivator is further improved. Naturally, after the Jindan Thunder Tribulation, the mana tempering is completed, and the realm of the avenue is stable. Generally speaking, after Jindan cultivator has survived the Golden Core Thunder Tribulation, the Dao realm can reach the third stage of star transformation. Except for the special state that has just passed through the Golden Core Thunder Tribulation, the Golden Core cultivator of this level is the strength of the lowest Golden Core cultivator under normal circumstances, that is, the strength of the ordinary Golden Core early stage cultivator. As for the future, in the middle stage of Jindan, including the division of strength between monks in the later stage of Jindan. The reference is not the cultivation base, but the Dao realm. Only when the realm of the two Golden Core cultivators is at the same level, will they see the difference in their cultivation bases. Because at the Golden Core stage, the cultivation base only represents the gap between the two mana, and the realm of the Great Road is not only related to the strength of the mana after tempering, but also to the increase of the attack power. This is the reference that plays a decisive role in the strength of Jindan cultivator. Of course, generally speaking, monks with high Dao realm will definitely have higher cultivation. After all, the improvement of the Dao realm is more difficult than the improvement of the cultivation base. The treasures that monks can quickly improve their cultivation are rare in this world, but some big sects can always find them. But the treasures that quickly improve the realm of the Dao are really unheard of in this world. This is also the reason why Chen Daoxian was extremely shocked when he saw that the Xingqian Kendo map could find another way and use the means of refining treasures to improve the realm of the Dao. In the group of Jindan real people, the cultivation base reaches the middle and late stages of Jindan, and the realm of the Dao reaches the first and middle stages of the Dao domain, which basically belongs to the strong among the cultivators of the Jindan stage. When the cultivation base reaches the late stage of Jindan, and the Dao realm reaches the high level of Dao domain realm, it is called the peak of Jindan. Jindan cultivators generally practice to this level, and they can consider breaking through the nascent soul stage. For example, Jiang Zui, the seventh elder of the Jiang family, is at this level, but Jiang Zui's Dao domain is related to the soul, and it happened to be beaten to death by Chen Daoxian, otherwise Chen Daoxian should not be his opponent at the beginning. And Ji Suhui's strength is even higher than Jiang Zui. Ji Suhui has not only reached the late stage of Jindan, but also the realm of the Dao has reached the high level of the realm of Taoism. What is even more terrifying is that his body refinement cultivation has also reached the peak of the blood-dropping realm. The sum of the three makes Ji Suhui directly listed on the Wangxinghai Jindan reality list, becoming the top Jindan real person in Wangxinghai. At this level of strength, it can be said that in the group of Jindan cultivators, it is usually difficult to meet an opponent. Ji Suhui's status among Jindan cultivators is also very detached. I usually see ordinary Jindan real people, and they are treated as juniors, not commensurate with their peers. Only the top cultivators of Jindan and the top real people at the same level as him were regarded as peers by Ji Suhui. This behavior of his is not arrogant, but an unspoken rule agreed among Jindan cultivators. If the cultivation base does not reach the Jindan stage, they generally do not understand their unspoken rules. But, the top real person is not the pinnacle of Jindan cultivators' strength. Among the Jindan cultivators, there is another kind of existence, known as the invincible real man. This kind of cultivator is the truly invincible existence among the Jindan cultivators. Not to mention ordinary Jindan cultivators, even the cultivators in the Yuaning period would not dare to say that they would win if they encountered such an invincible real person. It's just that Jindan cultivators of this level are not only extinct in Wangxinghai, but also extremely rare in Xianyun Prefecture. Therefore, it is usually not within the measurement range of the Jindan cultivators. Speaking of which, a Jindan cultivator from one Xinghai could be regarded as an invincible real person. That is more than 400 years ago. With the late Jindan cultivation level, he was able to rival the 3 Yuanying true monarchs of Qianyuan Jianzong, and he fought to the point of 2 deaths and 1 injury. This kind of terrifying strength that even the ordinary nascent soul true monarch looks up to, can completely call him an invincible existence in the golden core stage. That's exactly what happened. When the real person Xinjiue appeared again, Qianyuan Jianzong attached great importance to it, not only laying down a lot of decoys, but also asking Zhenhai Temple, the top-notch true monarch of Yuanying, to take action. Even with so many preparations, he still didn't catch Xinjiue Zhenren in the first time, but only caught the opponent's immortal clone. In the end, if it wasn't for Qin Daoxuan's deliberate attempts, coupled with Shenju's own carelessness, he would not be able to catch the other party at all. In the hands of the Hall Master of Zhenhai Hall, the ordinary Yuaning Zhenjuan is probably not his enemy, but he was smashed into the sand by Xinjiue Zhenren. It can be seen how difficult it is for a terrifying existence that can be evaluated as an invincible real person. In Ji Suhui's eyes, Qin Daoxuan's strength, although not at the level of an invincible real person, is much stronger than his top real person on the Jindan real person list. With Qin Daoxuan's strength, even on the Jindan real person list, he is still among the best. After all, the realm of law is usually only attained by the true monarch Yuaning. There are very few people in Wan Xinghai and even the vast Xianyun province who can reach the realm of laws in the golden core stage. What is even more terrifying is that Ji Suhui can even feel the breath of Jindan thunder tribulation on Qin Daoxian. What does that mean? This means that Qin Daoxian has just passed the golden core thunder tribulation not long ago. It stands to reason that this kind of cultivator is the one with the lowest strength among the Jindan cultivators, but now, the other party has almost forced him to a dead end by relying on the Dao realm of the law realm. With such a terrifying opponent, how dare Ji Suhui continue to fight recklessly? Desperate means to cultivate to the realm of him and Qin Daoxian, who will be less than the other. He tried his best to escape, so doesn't Qin Daoxian have a secret method to enhance his strength? Bullshit. This is the real reason why Ji Suhui fled for his life and did not dare to fight back. East District. The cultivators of the Qin family's military department all relaxed when they saw their young patriarch take action in person. Especially Qin Fusheng. Qin Fusheng's admiration for Qin Daoxian was almost blind, even though from the outsider's point of view, how could Qin Daoxian, a cultivator in the early stage of Jindan, be the opponent of Ji Suhui, a cultivator in the later stage of Jindan? But in Qin Fusheng's eyes, he believed that Qin Daoxian would not be defeated even if he met Yuanying Zhenjuan. This confidence is brought about by Qin Daoxuan's miraculous victories time after time. Qin Daoxian didn't know the thoughts of the Qin family, but he could see Ji Suhui's thoughts. Fighting hard? You want to drain my mana? Seeing this, Qin Daoxian almost laughed out loud. As we all know, the Qin family cultivators are not afraid of fighting attrition. Seeing that Ji Suhui was trapped in the space cage with a radius of 10 feet, and frantically used his fists, shoulders, head and other body parts to hit the barriers of the space cage, Qin Daoxian did not continue to instill mana, and just consumed the opponent like this. Although Ji Suhui judged that Qin Daoxian consumed a lot of space to maintain the cage, but he used the secret method to fight for his life, and the consumption could be very low. In only half a stick of incense, Ji Suhui, who was bathed in golden blood, panted and looked at the shrinking space cage, his eyes showing despair. No. How can you have so much mana? Impossible. Impossible. Hearing Ji Suhui's desperate roar, Ji Yenyuan, who was with him, was quite speechless. Qin Daoxian owns the magical artifact of creating the White Lotus, which is not a secret in Wanxinghai at all. And the third elder of his Ji family seems to be unwilling to know the information of the Qin family and Qin Daoxian at all. Even whenever he reported information about Qin Daoxian, Ji Suhui always waved his hand casually, saying, "What a mere cultivator of Zifu, don't pay too much attention to such words." It is true that for the top real people on the Jindan real person list, no matter how powerful the cultivator of Zifu is, it is not worth caring about. But Qin Daoxian was a terrifying existence who defeated Jiang Zui not long ago. Even so, Ji Suhui still didn't care. Ji Yenyuan suddenly felt that the three elders have today, and they are not wronged. Compared with stupidity and weakness, arrogance is the most deadly. On the field, Qin Daoxian watched his palm collapse into a space cage the size of a glass ball, held it in his hand, and played with it at will. Inside the space cage the size of a glass bead, a little man the size of fingernails is supporting the space cage on all fours, with a ferocious face, who is not Ji Suhui. Chapter 305. Yuanqin Xiancheng. As the largest immortal city in Sangzhou, Taizhou, and Jingzhou, Yuanqin Immortal City is home to tens of millions of monks. It can be called the largest scattered cultivation immortal city in the entire Wanxinghai. As the largest scattered cultivation immortal city in Wanxinghai, Yuanqin Immortal City not only has a huge population, but also has extremely prosperous commerce. This huge immortal city is like a gluttonous beast, crawling at the junction of the three states, swallowing a huge amount of goods every moment. Sky. A spirit boat flying from the direction of Tsangzhou quietly sailed towards the direction of Yuanqin Xiancheng. On the spirit boat, the triangular clan flag that belongs to the Qin family is flying in the wind. Obviously, this spirit boat is from the Qin family in Tsangzhou. Clan brother. On the deck of the spirit boat, a young cultivator cupped his hand towards another cultivator of the Fu character who was wearing a cyan robe. Can we reach a cooperation with Yuanqin Xiancheng with only a few of us on this trip? Hearing this, the cultivator of the Fu character generation in the blue Taoist robe frowned. After a long while, he shook his head and said, "I don't care much anymore. The various types of medicinal pills produced by our 7th industrial zone have been seriously saturated, and the warehouses in Sangzhou Xiancheng have piled up into mountains. If we don't find new sales channels, we can only stop work in the 7th industrial zone." But the young cultivator suddenly lowered his voice and changed it into a voice transmission of divine sense, "But Minister Qin strictly ordered that we must not make decisions on our own when it comes to cooperating with Yuanqin Xiancheng." Hearing this, the cultivator of the blue-colored Taoist robe was suddenly dissatisfied. "You said it too, this is Minister Chen's order. Our Qin family has always listened to the young patriarch. When is it the Minister of Finance's turn to say forget it? Besides, without opening up new sales channels, the clan has already issued an order to temporarily suspend work in the 7th industrial zone. Why? Would you like our 7th industrial zone to stop work?" Hearing this, the young monk gritted his teeth. So far, Guanhai Xiancheng has established 9 major industrial zones, and each industrial zone has at least dozens or even hundreds of large and small factories. In today's Guanhai Xiancheng, not only is there a competitive relationship between each factory, but even each industrial area is also a competitive relationship. Not to mention the Shuanghu Island industrial zone for the time being, since the Qin family shifted the industrial focus from the Shuanghu Island industrial zone to Guanhai Xiancheng. The Shuanghu Island industrial zone today is more of a research base. With the support of the Qin family's huge financial, material, and human resources, various research institutions such as the Chongping Magical Instrument Research Institute, such as various magic instruments, medicinal herbs, and formations, have sprung up like mushrooms after a rain. After a lapse of 5 years, Qin Daoxian has not been in the family retreat for the past 5 years. The Qin family has undergone earth-shaking changes again. Not only Guanhai Xiancheng, but Shuanghu Island, the home of the Qin family, has also changed a lot. In addition to Shuanghu Island, Guanhai Xiancheng consists of 9 industrial zones. These 9 industrial zones constitute the industrial core of Guanhai Xiancheng. Among them, the 9th industrial zone is the most favored and valued one among all the industrial zones of the Qin family. The heads of other industrial zones have always believed in private that the 9th industrial zone is the real son of the Qin family. That's exactly what happened. The most important and advanced factories, such as the Qinjia Lingfu factory, the second-order power spirit armor factory, and the high-order pill medicine factory, are all concentrated in the 9th industrial zone. Those of the Qin family who know the inside story know that even if there are problems in the other 8 industrial zones, the Qin family will not be hurt. If there is a problem with the 9th industrial zone in Guanhai Xiancheng, then the Qin family will really be destroyed after years of accumulation. However, although the industrialization of Guanhai Xiancheng in the past 5 years has been smooth, it also faces huge challenges. The main difficulty is that Guanhai Xiancheng produced too many kinds of instruments, medicine pills, and magic talismans. Sangzhou alone cannot digest it at all. At the beginning, Qin Daoyan also kept Qin Daoxuan's order in mind and left a soup for the other immortals in Sangzhou. However, under the huge production capacity advantage of Sangzhou Xiancheng's industrialization, Qin Daoxuan's so-called leave a mouthful of soup does not exist at all. The rapid increase in production capacity has brought about the ultimate cost reduction. The existence of Sangzhou Business Alliance has opened up the sales channels of the entire Sangzhou immortal cities. In other words, the major immortal cities in Sangzhou basically compete fairly on the same platform, and there is no trade protection between them. In this way, the advantages of all kinds of goods of the Qin family are too great. Even though the Qin family's various instruments and medicinal pills are not lower in price than other immortals, their goods are of better quality than other immortals due to the advanced production technology of the Qin family's factory. The monks are the most pragmatic group of people. Whether the magic weapon is good or not, how effective the medicinal pill is, not to mention the obvious difference, they can detect even the slightest difference, and vote with their feet in the next purchase process. In this way, even if the Qin family had the intention to leave a mouthful of soup for the great immortal clans in Sangzhou, they would be powerless. Can't the Qin family deliberately lower the quality of their products in order to leave soup for the major immortals? Isn't this smashing your own signboard? Naturally, the Qin family would not do such a stupid thing. Sangzhou is now divided into 2 camps, one is the Zhou family headed by the Zhou family, and the other is the Qin family camp headed by the Qin family. Anyone with discerning eyes knows in their hearts that the outcome of these 2 camps will determine who will call Sangzhou in the future. In the face of the huge interests that determine the fate of the family, the friendship between Qin Daoxian and Zhou Mubai is nothing at all. This point, whether it is Qin Daoxian or Zhou Mubai, is well aware of it. The families in the Zhou family's camp, except for some families who are really optimistic about the Zhou family's ability to dominate Sangzhou, the rest of the family are all robbed of their business and interests by the Qin family, and they hate the Qin family's immortal clan. Among the various forces in the immortal world, only interests are eternal. When Qin Daoxian was trying to turn the tide, they regarded Qin Daoxian as a morning star and a savior, but when the interests of the 2 sides were in conflict, they could not wait to strangle this savior with their own hands. But even if it offends so many families and occupies most of the CZ market, the consumption of Guanhai Xiancheng's production capacity is still a drop in the bucket. The pain of industrialization lies in this. The problem of sales caused by the explosion of production capacity is a headache for any industrial country in the previous life. In Qin Daoxuan's previous life, countries took different measures in order to digest their own industrial production capacity. Some use colonies to digest domestic production capacity, while others solve this problem through globalization. But whether it is the brutal colonial system or the gentle globalization policy, the essence is to digest production capacity through trade. Use advanced productive forces to exploit backward productive forces. What Qin Daoxian thought at first was to walk on two legs. The so-called walking on two legs is to carry out brutal colonization against the stubborn forces, and peaceful trade with the forces that are willing to open up commerce and trade. This is basically Qin Daoxuan's different strategies for the real demon world and Wan Xinghai in the future. Yuanqin Xiancheng is the first step of Qin Daoxuan's worm strategy. Of course, both brutal colonization and moderate peaceful trade are based on strength or force. If the Qin family's force is insufficient, it is a lamb to be slaughtered. This is also what Qin Daoxian said: cooperation with Yuanqin Xiancheng must wait until he breaks through the golden core stage. Because Qin Daoxian knew that only when he broke through to the golden core stage, with various trump cards, would he have the confidence to wrestle with true monarch Yuanying. Only at this point, his Zhangzhou Qin family is the real top clan of Wan Xinghai. The facts also developed as Qin Daoxian expected. But Qin Daoxian is not after all. He expected the development trend of the Qin family. The only thing he didn't expect was that someone in the Qin family did not listen to Qin Daolian's orders and expanded the sales market for Guanhai Xiancheng without authorization. Moreover, the vision of the person in charge of the 7th industrial zone is also the same as that of Qin Daoxian, and he chose Yuanqin Xiancheng as a breakthrough in the sales market. It's just that Qin Daoxian wanted to discuss cooperation with Jinjuan Yuanqin directly after his golden core stage. The Qin family, the person in charge of the 7th industrial zone, wanted to discuss cooperation with a Jindan real person under the jurisdiction of Yuanqin Xiancheng. This is the scene of the Qin family cultivator secretly rushing to Yuanqin Xiancheng at the beginning. Although the vision of the head of the industrial zone is good, it is not long-term enough. From the perspective of the 7th industrial zone, what he did was right, but from the perspective of the entire Qin family, his actions may bring disaster to the Qin family. After all, the large-scale production of medicinal pills represents huge benefits. If the outside world knows this kind of interest, I am afraid that even the master of the Wangxinghai like Qianyuan Jianzong will be moved. Even if the outside world is only guessing, such a big benefit is enough for a true monarch nascent soul to test the truth of the Qin family. Once this happens, it will undoubtedly be a disaster for the Qin family. But when Qin Daoxian broke through the golden core stage, the situation was very different. If Qin Daoxian breaks through the golden core stage, with his various trump cards, he will not be afraid of the ordinary Yuaning Zhenjuan. The more powerful true monarch nascent soul, hesitant to go to the Zhenhai palace behind Qin Daoxian, will not take it lightly after weighing the pros and cons. As for the top nascent soul true monarch, he doesn't look down on this benefit. Regardless of the huge benefits involved in mass-producing magical medicinal pills, for top-notch nascent soul true monarchs at the level of Zhenhai Hall's Hall Master, there is no shortage of spirit stones. No matter how many spirit stones there are, they can't make them break through to the level of Yuanqin Daojun. What's the use of pursuing hard? As everyone knows, when the golden-robed female cultivator saw this battle, her mind moved. She gently took the arm of the real Juk, and said softly, "Really, why don't you bring your concubine to meet the world?" The golden-robed female cultivator said while looking at him with charming eyes. Being pressed against the soft body of the golden-robed female cultivator, and then being agitated by her seductive eyes, Zhenren Juk unconsciously swayed in his heart. He still didn't know the plan of this golden-robed female cultivator. I saw Master Juk laughing loudly, slapped the golden-robed female cultivator on the buttocks suddenly, and said, "What a hoot, if you can really win the favor of that noble guest from Tsangzhou, it is really a blessing for Master Ben. Let's go together." The concubine obeys. The golden-robed woman Xiao Yingying gave her a gift, making her even more charming. At this moment, she had long forgotten that the Chen family cultivator, who was waiting outside the Lingfu, rose into the sky with the light of Master Juk. Outside Lingfu, Chen Furong and the others were waiting patiently, until they saw Master Juk and the female cultivator in the golden robe escape, and then they all turned ugly. "Brother, look." Chen Furong looked in the direction of the young cultivator's fingers, and his face became more gloomy. "Come with me." Chen Furong immediately set up the escape light and chased after the real person Juk. As a city with a population of tens of millions, Yuanshan Xianqing naturally also has a forbidden space magic circle, but this magic circle is invalid for monks above the Zifu period. Therefore, in the fairy city, you can often see the light passing by. Chapter 306. The speed of Jindan cultivators' escape was astonishing. Chen Furong and other Chen family cultivators rushed to catch up, but they still couldn't catch up with the real person Juk. Can only hang far behind each other. Sudden. Yuanshan Xianqing is a masterpiece of fairy music, and the strange floral fragrance is refreshing. Immediately afterwards, over Yuanshan Xianqing, a slender bird with colorful feathers pulled a gorgeous purple car and walked slowly in the sky. Colorful Phoenix. That's Zhenjuan Yuanshan Ziyu car. Using a fifth-order magic weapon as a vehicle, it is indeed the most luxurious sanctuary true monarch in Wanxinghai. What is the fifth-order magic weapon? That multicolored demon phoenix is the real treasure of Yuanshan Zhenjuan. It is rumored that this multicolored demonic phoenix of Yuanshan Zhenjuan has the bloodline of the ancient 9 phoenixes. A powerful nascent soul true monarch. Fellow Taoists said, even if the 5-colored demon phoenix has not yet transformed, its strength is comparable to a real person on the golden core list. Hearing this, the scattered cultivators who were watching below couldn't help nodding their heads. Since the colorful demon phoenix pulls the cart, the person sitting in this frame must be Zhenjuan and his old man. Which distinguished guest from Tsangzhou is he who deserves to be greeted by Zhenjuan and his old man? Hearing this, all the cultivators looked at him in surprise. Seeing everyone looking at him with this kind of eyes, this loose cultivator couldn't help but feel a little strange, and he cupped his hands around him and said, "I'm going to say something wrong, why are you all looking at me like this?" At this time, a loose cultivator who was quite close to him said, "Dao Yu Wang has been in retreat for the past year in order to break through the late stage of foundation building. He doesn't know about the recent major events in Tsangzhou, so don't be surprised." Hearing this, everyone nodded in understanding. At this moment, a beautiful-looking female nun stood up and said, "About a month ago, an earth-shattering event happened in Tsangzhou." Oh. This sentence instantly aroused the interest of the monk surnamed Wang. Wanxinghai has a wide range, and it is difficult for other states to know what happens in each state. The last major event in Tsangzhou that was known to the entire Wanxinghai was the fall of Zenangwan. Even the corpse tide in Tsangzhou is not a big deal for other states. After all, the corpse tide seems to be huge, but firstly, most of the zombies have no spiritual wisdom, and secondly, the cultivation base of zombies usually reaches its peak in the Zifu period. The existence of the Zifu period was in Tsangzhou. Looking at the other states of Wanxinghai, a cultivator of the Jindan family was dispatched at random, and the corpse tide was calmed down.
From this, it can be seen how weak Tsangzhou is compared to other states in Wanxinghai. Wanxinghai consists of 27 states, of which the larger states, such as Yuzhou, Dingzhou, Taizhou, etc., all have the Yuanying family in charge. And some states with a slightly smaller territory also have the Jindan family united. And a state like Tsangzhou, where even the Jindan family has only the Yi family, is indeed relatively rare. Therefore, in terms of strength, Zhangzhou is ranked at the bottom of the entire Wangxinghai. Of course, that was the former Zhangzhou. Now, with the rise of the Chen family, Zhangzhou is starting to look a little different. In the crowd, cultivator Zhang stared at the female cultivator intently. The female cultivator continued, "A genius cultivator has been born in Zhangzhou." Genius monk. The monk surnamed Zhang disagreed. In Wanxinghai, there were many more geniuses. But let alone become the true monarch of nascent soul, even if they can survive the golden core thunder tribulation, how many geniuses can truly become real people? Thinking of this, the monk surnamed Zhang pouted. Zhangzhou is a small place with a small territory and few monks. What kind of genius can be born? Do not, the female cultivator shook her head solemnly. This time, Dao Yu Zhang, you are wrong. The genius born in Zhangzhou this time is no trivial matter. His name is Chen Daoxian. Zhang Dao Yu must have heard of his name. Chen Daoxian. The cultivator surnamed Zhang was talking about the name. Suddenly, he remembered something and clapped his hands. I remember the most recent issue of the Zifu Tianjiao list. It seems that this person is also called Chen Daoxian. Hearing this, the friend next to him slapped the storage bag and took out a bound booklet from the storage bag. The cover of the booklet reads, Zifu Tianjiao list, in large characters. Gently opening the book, the first person in the line is Chen Daoxian's name. Zifu Tianjiao ranked first, the head of the Chen family in Zhangzhou, Chen Daoxian. Introduction to the record. In the Battle of the Corpse Tide in Zhangzhou, we turned the tide and resisted the overwhelming majority of the corpse tide. Later, in a battle, he fought against more than a dozen top-ranked Zifu players. After the unified assessment of Qianyuan Jianzong, it was listed as the top of the Zifu Tianjiao list. The monk surnamed Zhang took the book and kept nodding. You said Chen Daoxian, but this person? I didn't expect that I would retreat for a year, and Fairy Qi Yao, the young sect master of Qianyuan sword sect, had already broken through to the golden core stage. Since Chen Daoxian has become the number one in the Zifu Tianjiao list, this list should be updated soon, right? As he said that, he flipped through the date on the back of the book and frowned. This is the list of Zifu Tianjiao that was updated 3 months ago. I remember that this list sold for 100 spirit stones.
Hearing this, the friend surnamed Wu next to him nodded his head. Yes, I did spend so many spirit stones at that time. Hearing this, the female cultivator on the side covered her small mouth and chuckled. Then the money on the Wu Daoyu list is not worth it. Not only Fairy Qi Yao has broken through to the golden core stage, but the top of the Zifu Tianjiao list is also in the half a month ago. It broke through to the golden core stage. Jin Dan real person. When the cultivator surnamed Zhang heard the words, his face was full of envy, but then he frowned again. But this Qinjinren is gratifying to break through to the golden core stage, but it won't cause trouble in our Yuanqin Xiancheng. Everyone knows it, right? Do you think that only Yuanqin Xiancheng knows? The female cultivator shook her head. The cultivator surnamed Zhang looked blank. Is it possible that there is another Jin Dan real person, and the entire Wanxinghai knows about it? Don't say there is one more real person Jin Dan. Even if we have one more real master of Yuanying in Wanxinghai, it will not be so sensational, right? This time, not only the cultivator Zhang, but others also nodded. The female cultivator simply said, Dao Yu Zhang, you are right, not only are Yuanqin Xiancheng, but now the entire Wanxinghai is probably discussing this new Jin Dan period Qinjinren. Hearing this, the monk surnamed Zhang became even more puzzled. He hurriedly cupped his hands and said, Please also ask Fairy Luo to clarify the doubts. Seeing the cultivator surnamed Zhang begging for mercy, the female cultivator surnamed Luo no longer betrayed her, and said directly, half a month ago, the real blood slaughtered the Chen family and made trouble in the Chen family's Guanhai Xiancheng, and was turned over by this real Chen. The palm is suppressed. Etc. The cultivator surnamed Zhang raised his head quickly. The real blood slaughter you said was the one on the battlefield of Izumo. Hearing this, the female cultivator surnamed Luo seemed to be very contemptuous of this real blood slaughter, and she curled her lips. We Wan Xinghai call the real blood slaughter, besides Ji Suhui, the third elder of the Ji family, who else? He. The cultivator surnamed Zhang frowned even deeper. Although the real blood slaughter is brutal, he is the top real person in the real Jindan real person list. How can a new Jindan cultivator in the Chenjin district be able to defeat the opponent? No wonder the monk surnamed Zhang was puzzled. If any monk came here, he wouldn't understand what's going on here. These low-level monks may not be very clear about the strength of the ordinary Zifu and Jindan monks. But they know one thing, that is, those who can be on the Zifu Tianjiao list and the Jindan real person list must be in existence far beyond the same level. Therefore, the monk surnamed Zhang was so puzzled. I'm not too sure. Anyway, Yuanchen Xiancheng is rumored. After our Yuanchen Jinjuan heard about this, we bluntly said that this Chen Dao Xian will definitely become Yuanying Jinjuan. Not only that, our true monarch also said, this Chen Dao Xian even has the potential to become the top nascent soul true monarch. Top nascent soul true monarch. The cultivator surnamed Zhang was shocked. Wan Xinghai monk, talking about the top Yuanying Jinjuan, the first thing everyone thinks of is not the Qianyuan sword sect master, nor the Zhenhai palace hall master, but Yuan Yingzhen, who has been sitting in the largest immortal gate in Izumo for a long time, Lin Wuguan. Your Majesty, Lord Linwu. In the war between Wan Xinghai and Izumo, the reason why Wan Xinghai in the back was calm was because of the important towns of Xianguan established by Qianyuan Jianzong in Izumo. Among all the important towns in Xianguan, Lin Wuguan is the most important. Compared with Linwu Pass, the Zhenan Pass lost by the Cangzhou cultivators is not worth mentioning at all. If the Immortal Pass lost by Wan Xinghai was Linwu Pass, not Zhenan Pass, then the army of monks from the Xianqing Dao League would be able to go straight in, not only to recover large areas of lost soil, but also to directly threaten Wan Xinghai from the sea. At that time, the offensive and defensive situation of the two sides will change in an instant, and Wan Xinghai will also be caught in a precarious situation. No matter how strong the Qianyuan sword sect was, in the final analysis, there were two major sects standing behind the Izumo kingdom. Whether it is Xianyang sect or Qingwei Taoism, in terms of strength, they are not under the Qianyuan sword sect. Qianyuan Jianzong can fight with one enemy and two for so long, and still has the upper hand. It can only be said that the time and place are favorable to people, and they are all on the side of Qianyuan Jianzong. Once the Xianqing Dao League seizes the opportunity to gain the upper hand, coupled with the hidden dangers within the Qianyuan sword sect, Wan Xinghai will really fall into a state of doom. At that time, the major immortal races based in Wan Xinghai can only be reduced to bereaved dogs. This is not only the major immortal clan, but even many far-sighted loose cultivators can see it. As cultivator Wan Xinghai, everyone is now a grasshopper on a rope. Looking at the Izumo cultivators who were captured after the defeat, the Wan Xinghai cultivator knew how tragic the end would be if they were defeated. Once Wan Xinghai falls, high-level monks still have the possibility of escaping, and these low-level monks, in this vast Wan Xinghai, have no choice but to wait for death. As for escaping, how could ordinary qi cultivating cultivators and foundation building cultivators cross this vast sea of stars with their own strength? Besides, even if he crossed the Wan Xinghai, he still came to the nest of the enemy Izumo, and the end was even worse. Therefore, cultivator Wan Xinghai has such reverence for Linwu Zhenjuan, who has been guarding Linwu Pass for hundreds of years. Hearing this, everyone stopped talking. After all, they are just a group of foundation-building scattered cultivators. In the eyes of the cultivators in the Qi refining period, they are seniors, but in fact, they know very little about the advanced cultivators. If Qianyuan Jianzong did not launch the two major lists, the Zifu Tianjiao list and the Jindan real person list, these low-level monks don't even know that there are so many top high-level monks in Wan Xinghai. As for Yuanying Jinjuan, everyone knows even less. Zifu cultivator and Jindan cultivator, Qianyuan contact can also make a list to rank them and increase their fame. But Yuanying Zhenjuan, especially the top-notch Yuanying Zhenjuan, such as Linwu Zhenjuan, Zhenhai Palace Hall Master, they are all Wan Xinghai's biggest cards. Qianyuan Jianzong usually doesn't have enough time to keep these people secret, so how can he use their information to publicize them everywhere? Just like Qianyuan Jianzong will not know the details of the top Yuanying Zhenjuan of the Xianqing Dao League. On the one hand, these top true monarchs are too powerful. No matter what kind of secrets the two sides send, it is impossible to hit the side of this existence without being discovered. On the other hand, these top true monarchs took very few shots, and even if they did, they would not do their best at all. Most of the time they were in retreat and cultivation. In this way, whether it is Qianyuan Jianzong or Xianqing Dao League, they will not dare to go all out until they are sure that their own side has overwhelming strength. Afraid of each other. This is the real status quo of Qianyuan Jianzong and Xianqing Taoist alliance. Below, at the scattered repair gate of Yuanchen Xiancheng, seeing Zhenjuan Yuanchen personally come forward to welcome this distinguished guest from Cangzhou, the whole Xiancheng began to boil. High in the sky, the Qin family cultivator and the others who followed behind real Master Juk noticed that the group of scattered cultivators were boiling and cheering, and they were a little unclear. "Brother, look." Chen Furong looked in the direction of the young cultivator's fingers, and it turned out that it was the real person Juk who stopped in front of a colorful car and handed over to the car. Due to the distance, Chen Furong could only see that the other party's gesture was somewhat respectful, but he didn't know what Master Juk was talking about. "Brother, what should I do?" The young cultivator of the Chen family was a little anxious. He could see that in Yuanchen Xiancheng, even Master Juk was a respectful existence. There was no one else, so it must be Yuanchen Zhenjuan, who had a great reputation among loose cultivators. Although the young cultivator of the Chen family was impulsive, he knew in his heart that a cultivator of the purple house in his area rushed up so rashly and rammed into the real monarch's car. Even if the real monarch Yuanchen killed him on the spot, no one else could say a word. "Come." Seeing everyone looking at him, Chen Furong pondered for a moment and said, "You guys are waiting here, I'll go over alone." "Brother, why don't you count?" "No." Chen Furong shook his head. "For the sake of this cooperation, the gift we gave is not clear and must not be missed. I don't want to write down this shameful stroke for myself in the history of the family in the future." After saying that, Chen Furong took a deep breath and flew directly towards true monarch Yuanchen's car. "Who?" Before Chen Furong approached, there was a sound of scolding outside the car of true monarch Yuanchen. "Slow." Just as the accompanying disciple was about to take action, Zhenjuan Yuanchen's voice came from the car. "Ask, what's the matter?" Outside the car, a disciple accompanying him bowed and said, "Yes, master." After finishing speaking, the disciple flew over to meet Chen Furong's escaping light, raised his hand and said, "Stop here." Chapter 307. This fellow Taoist is polite. Chen Furong looked at the Zifu cultivator who was blocking his way in front of him, and bowed his hands. "Who are you, and why did you collide with the real monarch?" The purple manor cultivator stared at it, his eyes were quite bad. Seeing the other party's unkind eyes, Chen Furong bowed slightly, lowered his posture and said, "Fellow Taoist, I didn't intend to collide with the real monarch and the law driver." At the moment, Chen Furong told the story of what happened. When the cultivator in the purple house in front of Chen Furong heard that the people under the master of Juk were bribed and incapable of doing things, a look of disgust flashed in his eyes. Although true monarch Yuanchen opened up the Yuanchen immortal city, he was born in a loose cultivator after all, and his background was too shallow compared to those of the Yuanying clan. The vast majority of Jindan real people under Zhenjuan Yuanchen were recruited loose cultivator Jindan cultivators. There is only one Jindan cultivator who was really cultivated by Zhenjuan Yuanchen himself. Most of his disciples are cultivators of the Zifu period, and even those of the Foundation establishment period. Yuanchen Jinjuan wants to wait until his own disciples grow up, at least hundreds of years. It is by no means an easy matter for a Zifu cultivator to break through to the golden core stage. Even a top-notch cultivator like Fairy Qi Yao in Zifu took nearly 100 years to cultivate all the way to the golden core stage. Even Qin Dao Xian, who is a plug-in and has many adventures, took nearly 50 years to cultivate to the realm of Jindan. Other monks did not have as many opportunities as Qin Dao Xian. Normally, a cultivator can break through to the golden core stage before the 500-year lifespan limit of the Zifu stage, even if he is a genius. If he breaks through to the golden core stage in 300 years, he will definitely be listed on the Zifu Tianjiao list. If a golden pill can be achieved in about 100 years, at least the top 3 Tianjiao in the Zifu Tianjiao list can do it. It has only been more than 200 years since true monarch Yuanchen established Yuanchen Immortal City. During this period, he was developing Immortal City, cultivating disciples, and attracting scattered cultivators Jindan cultivator. In addition, he has to spare time and take into account his own cultivation. In the scattered cultivation, he is the only one in the entire Wangxinghai. Front. Although Jinjuan Yuanchen was sitting upright in the chariot, his consciousness had been paying attention to the conversation between Qin Furong and his disciples. The reason why Jinjuan Yuanchen was so concerned was of course not idle, but when he heard Qin Furong introduce himself, he said that he belonged to the Qin family in Sangzhou. And looking at Qin Furong's tone, it seems that they don't know that their young patriarch has broken through to the golden core stage. Coincidentally, half a month ago, when Ji Suhui came to Guanhai Xiancheng to make trouble, Qin Furong and the others happened to be driving a spirit boat from Guanhai Xiancheng to Yuanchen Xiancheng. Just missed the drama of Qin Dao Xian going out to suppress Ji Suhui. After that, they drove the spirit boat and spent half a month before they rushed from Guanhai Xiancheng to Yuanchen Xiancheng. During this period of time, Qin Furong and the Qin family cultivators were all on the spirit boat, and they didn't know anything about what was happening in the outside world. Because Qin Furong and others violated Qin Daolian's order after all, so they simply closed the family's communication jade talisman. Unexpectedly, this move perfectly staggered the battle in which Qin Daoxian famously moved Wanxinghai. As the matter fermented, more and more people began to hear about the achievements of the Zhangzhou clan chief Qin Daoxian. Even Qin Daoxuan's past experience was picked up by someone with a heart. After all, Qin Daoxian himself is a household name in Zhangzhou, and he belongs to a big man with a name and a surname. It is not difficult to inquire about his information. As a result, the monks of Wanxinghai knew that Qin Daoxian had been practicing for less than 50 years. In less than 50 years, he defeated a top real person on the Jindan real person list. This kind of record not only caused discussions between the loose cultivators and the family cultivators of the major immortal clans, but even caused a storm within the Qianyuan sword sect. Many disciples of Qianyuan Jianzong even discussed in private that the talent of Qin Daoxian, the head of the Qin family in Sangzhou, was probably not weaker than that of the most talented disciple in the history of Qianyuan Jianzong, the master of Zhenhai Palace, Qin Zhan. Little friend. Qin Furong was talking to the Zifu cultivator in front of him when a gentle voice suddenly came from his ear. At the same time as hearing this voice, a sense of horror from the depths of the soul poured out involuntarily. Qin Furong immediately guessed that this person must be true monarch Yuanchen. Qin Furong didn't expect that his actions would really startle a big man like Yuanchen Jinjuan. True monarch. This time, Qin Furong bowed lower, and the expression on his face became extraordinarily serious. Don't be too polite. With the sound in his ears, Qin Furong involuntarily stood up straight. Next, a burly and tall monk slowly walked out of the purple car. If it is not true monarch Yuanchen, who is he? True monarch. True monarch. Seeing Jinjuan Yuanchen getting off the Dharma drive, the monks accompanying him all bowed and saluted. Seeing this group of cultivators bowing their heads, Qin Furong was shocked, and at the same time, he couldn't help but feel a little envious. The giant tower. Subordinates are here. The round figure of the real person Juk suddenly flew out of the crowd. Glancing at Master Juk, Master Yuanqin continued, "Is what this little friend said just now true?" This real Master Juk couldn't help but feel tight in his heart. Even if this matter was true, he would not be guilty of death. But over the years, he has worked in Yuanqin Xiancheng, and I don't know how much oil and water he has made. If it is more serious, Yuanqin Jinjuan is widowed by him at this moment, and no one can say a word. Seeing the trembling appearance of the real person Juk, Yuanqin Jinjuan waved his hand gently, and saw a beautiful female cultivator with a beautiful figure and a golden robe, who was caught by him from the crowd. "It was you who took the bribe, right?" True monarch Yuanqin said lightly. "True monarch, concubine body, concubine body." The golden-robed female cultivator was so frightened that she couldn't help but look at Master Juk with pleading eyes. It's a pity that the real person Juk can't protect himself now. How can he take care of her cauldron? What's more, the original identity of this Ding furnace was just a prisoner of war in Izumo. It's just that this female cultivator of the Izumo country, with her means and beautiful appearance, walked step by step to the real person of Juk, and climbed the big tree of the real person of Juk. True monarch. The real Juk stood up. This woman was originally a prisoner of war from the Izumo kingdom. Originally, her subordinates thought she was of good nature and wanted to give her a chance, but I didn't expect that this woman would be ruthless, and she would actually break the rules of the real monarch, so it. As he said that, Master Juk was heartbroken, facing the unbelievable gaze of the golden-robed female cultivator, and punched the opponent's head. The splashes of yellow and white objects were wrapped in the mana of the real person Juk, which did not disturb the formation of the team that greeted Qin Daoxian at all. Taking a deep look at Master Juk, Jinjuan Yuanqin suddenly said, "You're lucky, let's not do this next time." After all, Jinjuan Yuanqin looked at the sky. "I see." A jet-black immortal boat, from far to near, flew over from the horizon in the direction of Yuanqin Xiancheng. "Malong?" Qin Furong had a shocked expression on his face. The Malong is one of the family spirit boats of the Qin family, compared to the ordinary spirit boats that Qin Furong and others ride on. The rank of the Malong is much higher, reaching the 4th rank low rank, and it is the main immortal boat purchased by the Qin family from the Qianyuan sword sect. Using this kind of immortal boat to travel, the speed is not much worse than that of Jindan cultivator. It takes up to 3 days to arrive here from Guanhai Xiancheng. True monarch Yuanqin carried his hands on his back and looked at the astonishing Malong number, and couldn't help sighing. The Qin family, after all, they have become the overlords of Cangzhou. Chapter 308. Boom! The huge Malong stopped, and the air waves swept through, making everyone's robes screeching. On the Moron. Standing at the head was a young monk with sword eyebrows and star eyes. The monk Jun Lang had a smile on his face, and he exuded an air of confidence. Next to the young cultivator, stood 3 slender female cultivators with beautiful faces. These 4 are Qin Daoxian, Luo Li, Qin Daoyan, and Yang Gongwan, the head of the Yang family who first joined the Qin family. As the Malong stopped, everyone cast escape light and flew out of the spirit boat. Qin Daoxian looked at Jinjuan Yuanqin in front of him, smiled and said, "Junior Qin Daoxian, I have seen Jinjuan." "Ha ha." Jinjuan Yuanqin took a step forward, and his figure instantly appeared in front of Qin Daoxian. He looked at the young cultivator in front of him and said with emotion, "I have to admit that over the years, you are the only cultivator who has misunderstood me." After that, he solemnly bowed his hands to Qin Daoxian. "In Ziyuanshan, I have seen fellow Taoist Qin. True monarch, this." Qin Daoxian was a little flattered, and the dignified true monarch Yuanying actually gave him the salute of his peers. Obviously, this true monarch Yuanqin treated him as a cultivator of his peers. Seeing that Qin Daoxian was a little stunned, Zhenjuan Yuanchen said with a smile, although Dao Yuchen is very surprised by the group of Zengxian Yuanji, he just thinks that you are a junior with extraordinary talent, and he didn't take it seriously at that time. But since you have stepped into the realm of law now, it proves that you have half-footed on the threshold of nascent soul. It is not an exaggeration to call you a friend in advance. In addition to having a direct teacher-inheriting relationship, cultivators all rely on their cultivation base to determine their seniority. Chen Daoxuan's Dao realm has reached the 5th level Law realm, and he already has the qualifications to discuss Dao with true monarch nascent soul. As a friend, he can afford it. Thinking of this, Chen Daoxian also acquiesced to true monarch Yuanchen's peer-to-peer argument. Because Chen Daoxian knew that his real strength was much stronger than that of suppressing Xue Tu Zhenren casually half a month ago. An opponent of the level of the real blood slaughter, he simply did not let him show all his strength. Although Chen Daoxian didn't know how strong Xinjue Zhenren was at his peak, he believed that he had taken out all his cards, and within the Jin Dan period, he should not be able to meet any opponents. Chen Daoxian can't say whether he can rival Yuanying Zhenjuan. After all, the strength gap between Yuanying Zhenjuan is huge. But Chen Daoxian can still afford the title of invincible real man, if he has all his cards. Friend Yuanchen. Friend Chen. The two of them formally performed a ceremony as a fellow Taoist, and then they all laughed, and the atmosphere was harmonious. Just when the two were talking happily, Chen Furong flew over, and immediately knelt down towards Chen Daoxian, bowing his head, young patriarch. Seeing Chen Furong, the smile on Chen Daoxuan's face gradually faded away. He looked at Zhenjuan Yuanchen and asked, "My Chen family, this younger generation, didn't cause trouble for Zhenjin's immortal city, right?" Hearing this, Zhenjuan Yuanchen smiled and waved his hand. "Dao Yuchen is serious, this little friend wants to cooperate with a real person under my command, but he has been executed when he encounters a villain." Zhenjuan Yuanchen put it lightly. Chen Daoxian nodded, and immediately looked at Chen Furong. Immediately, his consciousness unfolded, and he found the rest of the Chen family cultivators in an instant, and said in everyone's ears, "Don't come back." Hearing this scolding, everyone was so frightened that they all flew over in the direction of the Malong. Looking at the Chen family headed by Chen Furong, Chen Daoxian said coldly, "Go back to the Malong first and kneel." "Yes, young patriarch." Like the eggplant who was beaten by frost, this time they violated the family's order and privately sought cooperation with Yuanchen Xiancheng, which undoubtedly made Chen Daoxian very angry. He has been in charge of the family for so many years, and this is the first time he has encountered someone who dared to disobey his orders. Although this order was not issued by Chen Daoxian, it was he who asked Chen Daoyan to use the family seal and issued it in the name of the family. However, Chen Furong and the others were so daring and dared to do such arrogant things. Openly defying the clan order, Chen Furong, headed by any immortal clan in Wangxinghai, may not escape death. Chen Furong also knew how serious the consequences of his actions were, but he had no regrets in order to view the 7th industrial zone of Xiancheng in Hai. Watching Chen Furong and others leave, Zhenjuan Yuanchen said with a smile, "Fellow Daoist Chen, I have prepared a banquet in the mansion, please." "Please." The two greeted each other and flew towards the most luxurious immortal mansion in Yuanchen Xiancheng together. Here, it is the residence of Yuanchen Zhenjuan in Xiancheng. As true monarch Yuanying, the top cultivator in Wanxinghai, the immortal mansion owned by true monarch Yuanchen is naturally as numerous as a feather. But the immortal mansion where he received Chen Daoxian was unusual. Don't look at its appearance like an ordinary immortal mansion. In fact, this immortal mansion is a 5th-order middle-grade magic weapon, and it is also a magic weapon to suppress the defense of Yuanchen Immortal City. Step into the hall of the immortal mansion and sit down. Chen Daoxian retracted his scrutiny eyes, and said with certainty, "This magic weapon of fellow Daoist Yuanchen is really eye-opening." Hearing this, true monarch Yuanchen's eyes lit up, and he said with a smile, "I heard Daoist Huyan praise your talent for refining, but I didn't believe it at the time." It seems that Daoist Huyan was right. Oh. Fellow Daoist knows Senior Huyan. Jinju and Yuanchen nodded. More than knowing each other, he and I are very close friends. Although Chen Daoxian had only met the master of the Qianyuan sword sect refining hall once, he could see that Huyanqi was a very pure refiner. Although Huyanqi is an old-fashioned person, he is very fond of talents and has a very tolerant attitude towards monks who have the talent for refining. At the beginning, Yi Wudao slandered him in the Yunshao Palace of Qianyuan Jianzong because of his identity and background, and it was the head of the Huyan Palace who came out for him. Speaking of which, Chen Daoxian has inherited a lot of favor from the other party. At this moment, Chen Daoxian heard that Jinju and Yuanchen and Huyanqi had a very good personal relationship, Ai Wu and Wuxia, and immediately had a good impression of him by 3 points. As far as I know, Hall Master Huyan focuses on the way of refining weapons. Could it be that you are also Daoist Yuanchen? That's right, Jinju and Yuanchen smiled and nodded. I'm a 5th-order mid-grade craftsman. Hearing this, Chen Daoxian widened his eyes and was shocked. What is the concept of a 5th-order mid-grade alchemist? Chen Daoxian himself is also an artifact refiner, but because of his lack of resources, he gradually gave up the art of artifact refining. Therefore, Chen Daoxian's weapon refining level is only the 3rd-rank middle grade. As Huyanqi said at the beginning, the way of refining tools is broad and profound. Even if Chen Daoxian has the help of the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic, it is still difficult to progress without hard work. And this true monarch Yuanchen in front of him is actually a 5th-order mid-rank item refiner, which Chen Daoxian never expected. At the beginning, Chen Daoxian was still puzzled. Although a loose cultivator in the Yuanchen Jinjuan district, although his cultivation level was as high as the nascent soul stage, where did he get so many spiritual stones to build such a huge fairy city? Now, he understands. A 5th-order mid-grade craftsman, it's not too easy to make money. If Chen Daoxian remembered correctly, in the entire Wangxinghai, it seems that there are only 2 5th-order refiners, Huyanqi and Yuanchen Jinjuan. In the entire Wangxinghai, there are quite a few 4th-order artifact refiners who can refine magic tools for Jin Dan Jinren, but there are only 2 5th-order artifact refiners. Suddenly, Chen Daoxian seemed to think of something, and asked, since fellow Daoist is a 5th-order weapon refiner, why does the Jiang family have such a big revenge with fellow Daoist? Offending a 5th-order item refiner is completely different from offending a nascent soul true monarch. Compared with a simple cultivator, the rich and handsome profession such as alchemist and alchemist not only has a much higher income, but also has a much wider network. For example, true monarch Yuanchen is not only good friends with Huyanqi, but can also talk to top true monarchs like Xinhai Palace Hall Master. The other nascent soul cultivators, such as the top-notch true monarchs of Xinhai Palace, really do not necessarily look down on each other. Don't think that with the same cultivation base, the two can talk on an equal footing. Just like the original fairy Qi Yao and Yang Linyuan were both cultivators of the Zifu, can they talk to each other on an equal footing? Not to mention the gap between the identities and backgrounds of the two sides, the gap in strength alone is despairingly large. Although the gap between the primordial infant cultivators is not as exaggerated as that of the Zifu cultivators, after all the cultivation base can reach the nascent soul stage, and the law realm is the basic threshold. Unlike the Zifu period, there are those who have not even reached the first level of the Great Tao realm, and those who have entered the 3rd or even the 4th level. The strength gap between the monks in the Zifu period can be said to be the biggest gap between them among different cultivation bases. Even so, the gap between the top true monarch and the ordinary nascent soul cultivator is astonishing. It can even be said that the top true monarch encounters ordinary Yuaning cultivator and can kill each other in seconds. With such a large gap in strength, how can the two sides have equal dialogue? The so-called equal status is based on equal strength. Even if the strength of the first room is not good, at least the other party has something that the other party can see. Otherwise, why would the other party admit you and be willing to sit down and talk with you? True monarch Yuanchen can talk to top true monarchs because of his top level of refining. Chen Daoxian was treated with courtesy by Daojun Yuanchen, and it was also Zhenjuan Yuanchen who saw the potential in him. In addition, Chen Daoxian seems to have filth with the Jiang family, and the relationship between the two sides does not seem to be harmonious. As the saying goes, the enemy of the enemy is a friend, and Chen Daoxian, the amazingly talented Jindan real person, is obviously a natural ally of his Yuanchen Zhenjuan. The Jiang family in Taizhou, as an overlord-level family that dominates a state, Yuanchen Xianqing can compete with it, not only by relying on the power of Yuanchen Xianqing. There is also a large number of contacts that true monarch Yuanchen has made. It is precisely because of these contacts that the Jiang family has no way to take Yuanchen Xianqing for so many years. Inside the hall. When Zhenjuan Yuanchen heard this question, he put down the wine glass in his hand, and said with a smile, "Because I was not a fifth-order smith at that time, and for more than 200 years, it is not that the Jiang family did not find someone to make peace with me, but I never agreed." Having said that, Zhenjuan Yuanchen took a sip of wine. "Do you know why?" Chen Daoxian shook his head. "Because I can't stand it." Zhenjuan Yuanchen put the wine glass on the wine table. "I have practiced until today, and I have gone through so many difficulties and obstacles. Is it just to survive?" Speaking of this, Zhenjuan Yuanchen got a little excited. "At that time, when their Jiang family was powerful, they forced me out of Taizhou. At that time, I was like a lost dog, and I was in constant panic in the pursuit and killing of the Jiang family, Yuanying Zhenjuan. After that, Yuanchen Xianqing was established, and it was suppressed by the Jiang family. If it wasn't for my accumulation of contacts in the early years, this city would have been destroyed long ago. You say, can I let go of such a big hatred?" Chen Daoxian drank a glass of wine and said, "How can we forget the hatred we share with the sky?" "You're right." Zhenjuan Yuanchen took a deep breath. "The hatred between me and the Jiang family is inexorable." Half an hour. Zhenjuan Yuanchen let out a breath of alcohol and said with a smile, "Speaking of the matter of reconciliation, I really have someone here. Ask me to reconcile with you." Hearing this, Chen Daoxian immediately smiled and said, "Dao Yu Yuanchen said it was the ancestor of the Ji family, Ji Changsheng." "Ha, I can't hide from Chen Daoxian, it is the ancestor Ji." As he said that, he looked at Chen Daoxian with a smile in his eyes. "The Ji family is willing to pay a large ransom in exchange for Ji Suhui." Hearing this, Chen Daoxian was slightly curious. "A lot of ransom?" Zhenjuan Yuanchen stretched out 3 fingers, 3 billion spirit stones. "Big money." Chen Daoxian nodded. 30 billion spirit stones, even for the Ji family, is a huge sum of money. It can be seen that in order to exchange for Ji Suhui, the Ji family also gave a lot of blood. But then, Chen Daoxian shook his head again. "Unfortunately, Ji Suhui has already been killed by me. On the way here, I used the space law to completely wipe out his physical body and golden core." Hearing that Ji Suhui had been smashed to ashes by Chen Daoxian, Zhenjuan Yuanchen was stunned for a moment, and then laughed. "Aren't you afraid that Ji Laozu will trouble you? You know, Ji Laozu's strength is not weak among Yuanying cultivators." Fellow Taoist Yuanchen was alone back then, facing the pursuit of 3 true monarchs who were stronger than you, not only not afraid, but also set up a fairy city at the door of the opponent's house. "Why should I, Chen Daoxian, be afraid of a Ji Changsheng?" Hear these powerful words. Yuanchen Zhenjuan immediately drank a glass of wine, and then smashed the glass, happy. Chen Daoxian also smiled and raised his head to drink a glass of wine. Zhenjuan Yuanchen shook his head. "Unfortunately, I can't be a peacemaker." "Since Zhenjuan can't be a peacemaker, why don't you and I talk about new cooperation?" "Oh." Hearing the cooperation in Chen Daoxian's mouth, Zhenjuan Yuanchen immediately became interested. In his mind, the thing he wants to cooperate with Chen Daoxian the most is that after Chen Daoxian breaks through the Yuanying period, the two sides will form an alliance to fight against the Jiang family in Taizhou. From the point of view of true monarch Yuanchen, with Qin Daoxuan's talent, once he breaks through to the nascent soul stage, it is hard to say whether he can become a top true monarch in the future, but his strength is definitely much stronger than that of ordinary nascent soul monks. Such a top genius who has a grudge with the Jiang family, with the character of Yuanchen Jinjuan, must have invested early. Seeing Jinjuan Yuanchen's interested eyes, Qin Daoxian slowly talked about the cooperation between the two parties. You mean, sell your Qin family's magical medicine to my Yuanchen Xiancheng? Hearing that it was this cooperation, to be honest, Jinjuan Yuanchen felt a little disappointed. The cooperation between the two parties he thought was much deeper than this. In his opinion, even though the Qin family is a new Jindan family in Sangzhou, it has a shallow background. But with the transaction amount of the magic weapon elixir given by Qin Daoxian, Yuanchen Jinjuan was stunned. Chapter 309. Boom! A spirit boat dashed through the air and quickly headed towards Zhangzhou. Malong, in the main cabin. Qin Daoxian was sitting on the seat, and beside him, a woman with a beautiful face was standing behind him, rubbing his eyebrows gently for him. Qin Daoxian closed his eyes, and suddenly, he opened his eyes and looked in the direction of the hatch. Next moment, the hatch opened, and a group of people walked in. The leader was Qin Daoyan, and behind her, followed by a group of Qin Jiafa's younger generation. Qin Furong followed behind Qin Daoyan. The expression on his face was the same as the eggplant that was beaten by Shuang. Violating the clan order, he privately sought cooperation with Yuanchen Xiancheng, and was caught on the spot by the young clan chief. According to clan rules, the first offender, Qin Furong, should be punished for his crimes, and the accomplices should also be imprisoned in the family's thunder prison for 10 years to set an example. Thump! Thump! As soon as Qin Furong and others walked into the main cabin, they knelt on the ground. Xin Xiu Qin Furong, meet the young patriarch. Qin Daoxuan's expression was calm when he looked at the people of the Fuzi generation who were kneeling on the ground. But those who knew him knew that the calmer the expression on Qin Daoxuan's face, the more terrifying the hidden anger in his heart. The last time Qin Daoxian was so angry was when he set a trap to kill a qi refining family. Although the opponent they met that time was very weak, the Qin family was also extremely weak. At that time, the Qin family was only supported by Qin Daoxian and Qin Xianhe, and with a little splash, this improved family could be wiped out. However, Qin Daoxian did not show the slightest anger when he was coveted by the enemy, but directly killed the elites of the enemy clan by means of thunder. This ruthlessness is completely different from Qin Daoxuan's reputation for being generous towards his fellows, which was widely rumored in Sangzhou. Qin Furong, do you know the crime? Qin Furong turned pale, bowed his head and said, Furong is convicted. Ah, Qin Daoxian chuckled, looking at your appearance, you don't seem to be convinced. Young patriarch, Fu Rong knows that he has violated the rules of the clan and should be punished for his crimes, but my trip is all for the sake of the family, and I also ask the young patriarch to learn from it. For the family? Qin Daoxian lightly clasped the armrest of the chair. You dare to say that you have no selfishness at all? The 7th industrial zone you are in charge of is about to face the situation of shutdown. As the head of the 7th industrial zone, you have the lowest achievement among all the heads of industrial zones in the clan. Now, how dare you say that you are for your family? Hearing this, a drop of cold sweat ran down Qin Furong's temples. Fu Rong, guilty. He buried his head deeply on the ground, not daring to argue any further. When Qin Daoxian saw that he was no longer speaking, he waved his hand lightly and used the space cage to suppress him. As a senior member of the clan, Qin Furong's crimes were also very representative. Qin Daoxian planned to set a model in front of the clan. He wants to tell all the Qin clan members that the family order is above everything else, and whether the Qin clan people understand or not understand the family order, they must unswervingly implement it. Qin Daolian watched Qin Furong being suppressed by the young patriarch, and said nothing during the whole process. As the acting patriarch, Qin Daolian knew that a person like Qin Furong seemed to be thinking for the family, but in fact it was for his own future. For his own future, Qin Furong could even abandon the family's orders. This kind of person, Qin Daolian encountered a lot when he was in charge of the family. After all, Qin Daolian is not Qin Daoxian, she does not have the strength of Qin Daoxian to crown the whole family, and she does not have the unparalleled prestige of Qin Daoxian. Although she has the support of Qin Daoxian behind her, but Qin Daoxian has not been in the clan for many years and ignores clan affairs, so the support she can give her is very limited. More Qin Daolian relies on her own wrist to tame this group of arrogant soldiers in the clan. Among them, the difficulty is not enough for outsiders. A clan like Qin Furong who ordered her to obey the Yin and the Yin, Qin Daolian did not know how many she had encountered during the years in charge of the family. But these people are either extremely talented or not weaker than her, and Qin Daolian really has nothing to do with them. Qin Daolian knew that what the young patriarch did today, in addition to letting the clan know that the clan order could not be violated, was still standing up for her, the acting patriarch. So, Qin Furong is dead. As for you. Qin Daoxuan's gaze turned to the other monks of the Blessing generation, go to the Thunder Prison to receive the criminal law for 10 years. Thank you, young patriarch. The nervous expressions of everyone were relieved immediately. The cultivators of the Blessed generation present were all 500-year-old cultivators of the Qin clan, and none of them wanted to die. Qin Daoxuan's decision to speak out this punishment naturally made everyone breathe a sigh of relief. Okay, let's stop this, let's go out. Yes, young patriarch. Watching everyone leave, Qin Daoxian looked at Qin Daolian and said with a smile, I'm not in the clan these years, it's not easy for these little guys to manage. Hearing this, Qin Daolian suddenly had 1,000 words in her heart that she wanted to talk about, but when she saw Luo Li standing behind Qin Daoxian, the words finally turned into, it's okay. Qin Daoxian nodded, that's how it is to manage a family. As the patriarch, you must not only have extraordinary strength, but also have enough skills. Some people, on the surface, dare not disobey your orders, but they are able to work without any effort. If one person is like this, they are not afraid. If everyone is like this, the family is in danger. Daolian is taught. Qin Daolian gave a blessing. However, as long as I am here, the people in the family will not dare to make any changes, so you can do it with confidence and boldness. Hearing this, Qin Daolian was slightly moved. By the way, can we Guanhai Xianqing fulfill the cooperation conditions signed with Yuanqin Xianqing? Hearing this, Qin Daolian suddenly came to his senses. In the 5 years since Qin Daoxian retreated to break through the Golden Core stage, Qin Daolian's greatest achievement was to initially build Guanhai Xianqing into an industrial city. The establishment of the 9 industrial zones has made Guanhai Xianqing burst into unparalleled productivity. Qin Daolian is confident, and the Guanhai Xianqing with full horsepower can fully supply the markets of medicine pills, magic weapons, and amulets in Sangzhou and Yuanqin Xianqing. Not only that, the special environment of Yuanqin Xianqing can also provide sufficient industrial raw materials for Guanhai Xianqing. The raw material market and sales market are all resolved. Qin Daolian believes that the development speed of Guanhai Xianqing will surely shock the world. Seeing the confident look on Qin Daoliankio's face, Qin Daoxian smiled and reminded, the annual transaction scale of more than 300 billion spirit stones is not a joke. Young patriarch, don't worry. Qin Daolian's face is full of confidence, you are not in the clan these years, and you have no idea about the changes in Guanhai Xianqing. Hearing this, Qin Daoxian nodded, okay, until the end of this trip, I must take a good look at your achievements over the years. Qin Daolian nodded with a smile. The next days. The Malong continued to fly. Although the Malong was extremely fast, it would still take several days to return to Shuanghu Island from Yuanqin Xianqing. Taking advantage of this time, Chen Daoxian sorted out the changes that had broken through the golden core stage. This time, Chen Daoxian encountered the family's request for help before he had time to consolidate his cultivation. This time, the cooperation with Yuanshan Xiancheng has been established, and the biggest problem of the family has been solved. Chen Daoxian finally has time to carefully understand the changes after forming the pill. But before that, Chen Daoxian first looked at a new exercise in Consciousness Sea. When he was selecting treasures in the inheritance trial space, the Sea of Divine Light he practiced faintly felt something with the star's kendo map. This is also the reason why he chose the star's kendo map. Sure enough, after his cultivation base broke through to the golden core stage, a brand new cultivation technique appeared in his Sea of Consciousness. And this practice method is the follow-up method of the Sea of Divine Light. This law is called separation of the sea. And the original name of Dingpa Shengguang is not this, its original name is called Shenhai Pian. The Divine Sea, the dividing the sea. Chen Daoxian looked at the names of these two exercises, and his doubts deepened. Because from the names of these two methods, he could see that there must be a follow-up to this method. Perhaps this follow-up method can only be obtained after my cultivation is higher, or when I pass the inheritance trial completely. Chen Daoxian secretly said. Chapter 310. Chen Daoxian carefully studied this second exercise. After careful inspection, Chen Daoxian found that this second exercise was completely based on the first Divine Sea. If the main content of the Divine Sea chapter is to open up the Sea of Divine Light, the second part of the exercises is about how to use the Sea of Divine Light that has been opened up. Exciting a beam of light from the vast Sea of Divine Light to fix one's soul is just the most superficial use of the Divine Sea chapter. Actually, this official disciple of the unknown forces in the upper realm, no one would be like Chen Daoxian, such a superficial use of the Sea of Divine Light that has been opened up by hard work. Really? Chen Daoxian kept flipping through the contents of the Dividing the Sea, and the joy on his face became stronger and stronger. I just said that the Sea of Divine Light created with so much energy will not only have the two functions of expanding one's divine consciousness and inspiring a soul-stabilizing divine light. Divine Sea chapter only talks about how to open up the Sea of Divine Light, but it does not have a single word on how to use this Sea of Divine Light. It turns out that it is not that there is no method of application, but that it is recorded in the second article, Dividing the Sea. Chen Daoxian's eyes lit up, and the excitement in his eyes could not be restrained. As the second exercise method that the Golden Scriptures voluntarily transmitted to him, Chen Daoxian suspected for a long time that the level of this martial art was too low compared to the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic. It turned out that it wasn't that the soul-defining light was of low grade, but that it was incomplete. Even now, Chen Daoxian obtained the second exercise method, but this method is still not complete. Chen Daoxian knew in his heart that if he wanted to obtain a complete method, he would have to become an official disciple of this unknown force in the upper realm. He continued to study the Dividing the Sea. 3 days later. In the main cabin, Chen Daoxian withdrew from the Epiphany state. After 3 consecutive days of Epiphany, he finally finished the second exercise, Fenhai chapter. To put it simply, this second exercise mainly talks about dividing the Sea of Divine Light that fills the entire Sea of Consciousness into small seas of Divine Light. The reason why it is divided, its purpose is to distract. When Chen Daoxian was in the early stage of qi refining, he could only control a flying sword. Later, when the cultivation base reaches the mid-qi refining stage, he can control 2 flying swords. It seems that this is the method of distraction, but it is not. At the beginning, Chen Daoxian was able to control 2 flying swords at the same time instead of controlling 1 flying sword. First, it was the change brought about by the improvement of his cultivation base and the growth of infuriating energy. Second, it is Chen Daoxian's increased spiritual awareness, which allows him to use 2 things with ease. But doing two things with one mind is actually not a big deal. Ordinary people can often do two things with one mind after hard training. The dividing the sea exercises that he comprehended is naturally not a simple one-minded two-purpose or multi-purpose. To be precise, the ultimate goal of this exercise is to allow monks to divide their consciousness into independent and unified existences. In terms of personality, these independent consciousness belong to Qin Xian. But when running the law, they cannot interfere with each other, and each runs a different law. That's right. Whether it's Shanhai or dividing the sea, in the end, they all serve the purpose of exerting the power of the law. At this moment, Qin Xian couldn't help but think of the three-headed and six-armed magical powers that the Taoist in white taught him in the inheritance trial space. Qin Xian pondered for a while, and immediately displayed 3 heads and 6 arms in the main cabin. As the 3 heads grew, Qin Xian felt that his consciousness was instantly divided into 3. Although each consciousness clearly knew what the other was thinking, they were independent of each other. But they belonged to the whole of Qin Xian. It sounds like this statement is somewhat similar to the schizophrenia in the previous life, but it is actually completely different. This is a state of practice that practitioners dream of. According to legend, there are some powerful monks in the upper realm who can divide their minds into thousands and put them into the endless immortal realm to reincarnate and experience all kinds of hardships in the human world in order to temper their minds. This method of dividing the mind is similar to the dividing the sea. This method is different from avatars. Qin Daoxuan's avatars come from cutting the soul and shaping the flesh. The method of cutting the soul, whether it is for a powerful monk or a low-level monk, should not be tried lightly. Because once the clone falls, it seems that it has no effect on the deity, but in fact, the soul of the deity will permanently lack a trace of true spirit and authenticity. This missing trace of true spirit and true nature may not have the slightest impact on the deity's cultivation base and lifespan, but it will affect the deity's achievement of immortality in the future. The monks become immortals and require the soul to be transformed into pure yang. And if you want the soul to transform into the realm of pure yang, first of all, the true spirit and true nature in the soul must be complete. At that time, the seemingly insignificant avatar becomes extraordinarily important. Of course, for this cultivator, becoming an immortal is illusory, and the clone is naturally equivalent to an extra life for the deity, and few people take it to heart. This point, even Qin Xian is not clear. The sea of light is different. Although this sea exists in the sea of consciousness, it is neither divine consciousness nor mana, but an extremely special existence. It is divided into individual mind clones. No matter how much damage it will not hurt the deity in the slightest. The big deal is to recultivation and complete the sea of light. Of course, to be able to turn the divided sea of divine light into a mind clone, Qin Daoxuan's current cultivation is still 108,000 miles away. However, there is no problem in letting the divided minds control different Tao laws. Since Qin Daoxuan's space law and Siyu sword intent were integrated into the star sword Dao map, and his 2 natal flying swords were also integrated into the map, Qin Daoxian found that he could only use 1 flying sword at a time. While using the flying snow sword, it is not impossible to forcibly use the Qingying sword, but it can only be an ordinary magic weapon. The law of sword intent integrated with it will completely dissipate under the rejection of another law of sword intent. The Tao law is extremely repulsive. Even different branches of the same law are extremely repulsive. It can be seen that it is incredible that the powerful monk with a giant axe seen by Qin Daoxian in the real fairy source world can make the law of 5 elements revolve around the law of space. And the practice of dividing the sea can completely eliminate this repulsion. Because after cultivating the dividing the sea, the minds are divided, just like different individuals. How can they be excluded when they cast their own laws? In fact, the 3 heads and 6 arms also have this effect, but the 3 heads and 6 arms can only achieve 3 points of the mind, and at most 3 different sword intent laws can be displayed at the same time. Compared with the infinite possibilities of dividing the sea, the gap is too great. Just when Qin Daoxian was in a good mood, he was about to continue to comprehend the practice of the Fenhai chapter. Boom! 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 A melodious bell told him completely back to reality. The bell rang a total of 9 times, and generally only in the most urgent situations, the bell would ring 9 times. Qin Daoxian was about to discover the Malong number with his divine sense. Then, he walked out of the main cabin. Qin Daoxian looked at Shuanghu Island, which he hadn't seen for 5 years and had undergone earth-shaking changes, and was filled with emotion for a while. Under the shroud of consciousness, Qin Daoxian discovered that the current Shuanghu Island, towns and cities rose from the ground. Around the town, surrounded by villages, the official roads extending in all directions bring together the entire Shuanghu Island. He even saw a large number of cloud-traversing beasts and vehicles on the broad official road. If I remember correctly, when he and Qin Xianhe went to the immortal city of Guang'an Mansion, he saw that the most common vehicle used by monks was this kind of cloud-traversing beast vehicle. But for the current Qin family, this kind of cloud-treading beast car is no longer a rare thing. Not to mention monks, this kind of gentle cloud-traversing beast officially replaced horses as early as 3 years ago and became a common public transportation for ordinary people. This is just a change in the lives of ordinary people. Compared with ordinary people, the Qin family cultivator has changed even more. The family's economic strength is strong, and its strength is getting stronger and stronger, so that many Qin family cultivators who go out are more arrogant and domineering than the original Zhou family. Due to Qin Daoxuan's strategy of keeping a low profile and keeping a low profile for the family, the outside world has never known much about the Qin family in Sangzhou. The reason why everyone has heard of this family is more because of Qin Daoxuan's face. If there was no Qin Daoxian, and out of Zhangzhou, how many people in Wanxinghai would know about this small family of Zhangzhou Qin family? True monarch Yuanqin received the Qin family with the highest standards, which was not Qin Daoxuan's face. Although Qin Daoxian repeatedly wanted to weaken his reputation in Zhangzhou, what he didn't expect was that Qin Daoxian is now not only famous in Zhangzhou, but also a topical figure in the entire Wanxinghai. After all, Qin Daoxian has come all the way, and his record is so sturdy that outsiders can't even pay attention to it. On the deck of the Malong, Qin Daoxuan's light flashed, and he flew towards the discussion hall first. In front of the Qin family's discussion hall, one after another, the escaping lights stopped. All of them were the senior members of the Qin family. Among these monks, there is a raw face. This person has red hair and red beard. Seeing this person, Qin Daoxian was slightly stunned, and then smiled. Zhang Daoyu, I haven't seen you for many years, stay safe. This red-haired Taoist is none other than Zhang Yu, the person in charge of the Qianyun temple stationed in the immortal city of Guang'an Prefecture. When Zhang Yu saw Qin Daoxian, he first smiled, then remembered something, and cupped his hands. Zhang Yu pays respects to Qin Jinren. Saying that, he bowed and saluted Qin Daoxian. Zhang Daoyu's words are serious. Qin Daoxian stepped forward quickly, lifted Zhang Yu slightly, and said with a smile, "You and I are old friends." Heard. Zhang Yu smiled and said, "The outside world is rumored to have suppressed Ji Suhui, the real person of blood slaughter, after turning your hands, saying that your strength may be comparable to that of the real person Xinjue back then. Unexpectedly, Daoyu Qin, you are still the same as before, so humble and polite. Brother Zhang praises me again, and I can't be ashamed." Ha ha. The two joked a few times, and the daring of a little strange estrangement disappeared immediately. After all, the two participated in the war to quell the corpse tide in Sangzhou together, and their friendship was extraordinary. It is said that friendship formed on the battlefield is the most reliable, and this statement is true. The Qin family and the Zhou family fell in love with each other, but Qin Daoxian and Zhou Mubai cherished each other. In addition to admiring each other's natural talents, there was another important reason, that they had a life-and-death friendship. Therefore, Even though the strength of the Chen family is far more than that of the Zhou family, Chen Daoxian did not show an aggressive attitude. Speaking, Chen Daoxian put away his smile and said sternly, "Brother Zhang is here, but Qianyuan Jianzong is going to recover Zhenengwen." Hearing this, Zhang Yu nodded seriously, "Exactly." Hearing this, Chen Daoxian froze slightly in his heart. Really? In recent years, not only Chen Daoxian broke through to the Golden Core stage, but Fairy Qi Yao, who was one step away from the Golden Core stage as early as in the true Immortal Origin realm, even broke through to the Golden Core stage before him. According to Fairy Qi Yao, the day she broke through the Golden Pill was when she led the Zhangzhou cultivators to recover Zhenengwen. Although Chen Daoxian didn't know why the date of recovering Zhenengwen was postponed for a few years, what should have come always came. Thinking of this, Chen Daoxian's breathing couldn't help but quicken. Recovering Zhennan Pass is the wish of every monk in Zhangzhou. The Zhangzhou cultivators have been unhappy these years, and a large part of the reason is that Zhenengwen fell, resulting in the Zhangzhou cultivators' resource supply being much worse than that of other prefectures. Chen Daoxian was so excited, but he didn't really want to recover Zhenengwen. But after so long, he finally had the opportunity to go to Xianyunsu to find out. According to legend, Xianyunsu is extremely vast. This world is not like the previous life, there are several continents. In this world, there is one and only one fairy continent, that is Xianyun. The rest are either sea areas or islands. In fact, the place where the sect of Qianyuan Jianzong is located, in the previous life, is estimated to be larger than all the continents combined, but in this world, this kind of area can only be called an island. After all, for high-level monks, a place that can be circled with only a few incense sticks is not called an island. In this world, only a vast continent like Xianyun can be called a continent. Sect forces such as Xianyang sect, Qingwei Taoist sect, and Qianji Temple, placed in the vicinity of Wangxinghai, are considered to be the leading forces. But looking at the entire Xianyun continent, it is nothing. In Xianyun continent, it is the minimum for the sects and families that can be called first-class great powers to have Yuanshan Daojun in charge. However, neither the Qianyuan Sword sect nor the Xianqing Daoist League, there is no Yuanshan Daojun. Don't look at Qianyuan Jianzong's dominance in Wangxinghai, but looking at the entire Xianyunsu, it can only be regarded as a second-rate force at most. The Xianqing Dao League two together, the strength is stronger than the Qianyuan Jianzong, but it is still second-rate. As for the nearby sects such as the Thousand Machines Hall, this is basically the same. Soon, the news of Qianyuan Jianzong's recovery of Zhenengwen was spread among the high-level monks in Zhangzhou. Qianyuan Jianzong did not intend to keep it a secret. In these years of competing with the Xianqing Dao League, the two sides have already penetrated each other almost. A war of this level, such as the recovery of Zhenengwen, involves resources and cultivators, and the scale is huge. Could it be that Qianyuan Jianzong can hide it if he wants to hide it? Instead of timidly attacking, it is better to overwhelm the entire force of Zhangzhou and take back Zhenengwen in an upright manner. At least in the eyes of the senior monks in Zhangzhou, this is what Qianyuan Jianzong came up with. 3 days later. In the sky, the spirit boat covers the sky and the sun. One after another, the spirit boats, carrying the major immortals and the elite monks in the Zhangzhou scattered cultivation, flew in the direction of Qianyuan Jianzong. Chapter 311. Qianyuan Sword Sect. In the sky, countless spirit boats gathered towards the island where Qianyuan Jianzong Zongmen was located. Now, Qianyuan Jianzong's guardian array has long been open to welcome the arrival of Zhangzhou monks. On the Moron, Chen Daoxian stood on the deck of the spirit boat, and his consciousness swept across the spirit boats slightly, checking the Zhangzhou cultivator who came this time. After a brief inspection, he found that most of the monks present were leaders of the major immortal races. Chen family, Zhou family, Wu family, Zhang family. In addition to the major immortals, the scattered cultivators also gathered together under the gathering of the scattered cultivators in the Zifu. It has to be said that the last time the true immortal origin realm and his party made Sangzhou add a lot of Zifu loose cultivators. After these loose cultivators broke through the Zifu period, they were not willing to be helpless cultivators anymore, but wanted to fight for a future in the battlefield of Izumo, not to mention the establishment of top Sangzhou like the Chen family and the Zhou family. Big family. Even if you build a lesser family and become an ancestor of a family, you will not waste your life. With this kind of thinking in mind, this time Sangzhou Zifu Sanxiu was very active in recovering Zenangwen. Because once Zenangwen is successfully recaptured, Qianyuan Jianzong will not be stingy with rewards. At that time, everyone's idea of establishing an immortal family and calling them ancestors will be realized. Chen Daoxuan's consciousness quickly skipped the spirit boats. With his stronger consciousness than ordinary Jindan cultivators, no one found his secret investigation. A long time. Chen Daoxuan's consciousness stopped on a spirit boat. On a spirit void battleship of the Zhou family. Zhou Mubai was closing his eyes in the cabin to meditate. Suddenly, he suddenly opened his eyes. Who? Zhou Mubai's eyes were like electricity, and the flying sword flew out of the storage bag in an instant. He looked around vigilantly, and said solemnly, I don't know which senior is here, please come and see. This place is already where the Qianyuan sword sect is located. Zhou Mubai does not believe that any cultivator dares to act recklessly and cause trouble here. Brother Zhou. In the sea of consciousness, a familiar voice sounded. Hearing this voice, Zhou Mubai immediately put down his guard and silently put the flying sword back into the storage bag. After a long while, he sighed and cupped his hands, Brother Chen. The voice just fell. In front of Zhou Mubai, a figure suddenly appeared. It is Qin Daoxian. Seeing Qin Daoxian suddenly appearing in front of him, Zhou Mubai's expression changed slightly. He knew very well what this scene meant. Teleport. After the space sword intent reaches the law realm, the first thing to master is the space cage. After mastering the space cage, if the cultivator's space law can continue to improve, he can master space teleportation. This is the second variation of the law of space. After reaching the law realm, there are three kinds of changes in space law, space cage, space teleportation, and space strangulation. These three abilities are just three variations of the laws of space, and it doesn't matter whether they are high or low. But generally speaking, if a cultivator can perform space teleportation, it means that his Dao realm has reached the middle part of the law realm. But how long has it been? Zhou Mubai was in a trance. Normally, isn't the higher the Dao realm, the slower the cultivator's progress? Why is the speed of Qin Daoxuan's Daoist progress not only not slowing down, but accelerating? Zhou Mubai was very puzzled. The main cabin of the Spirit Void battleship where he is located is guarded by a fourth-order formation. Even so, Qin Daoxian easily bypassed the defensive formation and teleported to him. It can be seen how big the difference in strength between the two of them is now. Thinking that the Zhou family had been delusional about competing with the Chen family for the position of the number one family in Sangzhou, now that they think about it, it is ridiculous. Qin Daoxian alone can easily destroy the entire Zhou family in Guang'an Mansion. Seeing the expression on Zhou Mubai's face changed from shock to silence. Qin Daoxian sat down on the chair in front of the other party at will, and said with a smile, Brother Zhou, why are you looking at me like this? Haven't seen me for a few years, have you forgotten what I look like? Hearing Qin Daoxuan's relaxed tone, Zhou Mubai relaxed in his heart and said with a smile, yeah, I haven't seen you for 5 years, and seeing Brother Qin again, I really don't dare to recognize him. He paused, although you are relieved that you killed Ji Suhui, it is still a little troublesome after all. Qin Daoxian shook his head, no problem, this time I should levy the south gate of Fujian, and the Ji family will not dare to do anything to my Qin family. Zhou Mubai understood the meaning of Qin Daoxuan's words. The Qin family was summoned by Qianyuan Jianzong to recover Zhenengwen. At this juncture, the Ji family, whether it is to destroy the Qin family directly, or use other means to destroy the Qin family secretly, they are all hitting the face of Qianyuan Jianzong. If the Ji family really dared to do such a thing, they would definitely be wiped out by the Qianyuan sword sect, just like the Qi family in Yuzhou back then. It is the will of Qianyuan Jianzong to recover Zhenengwen. Any behavior that drags its feet at this juncture will be violently suppressed by Qianyuan Jianzong. Therefore, Qin Daoxian believed that Ji Laozu would not joke about the survival of the entire family for the sake of a mere Ji Suhui. Zhou Mubai nodded. During the recovery of Zhenengwen, the Ji family did not dare to trouble the Qin family, but how many years will it take to recover Zhenengwen, or 10 years? Regardless of the outcome, this war will always be over. By then, where will your Qin family go? Brother Zhou, 5 years ago, I was just a cultivator of the Purple House. How do you know that in a few years or even more than 10 years later, it was the Ji family who troubled my Qin family, not the other way around? This. Zhou Mubai looked at Qin Daoxuan's confident face and was speechless. Indeed. What Zhou Mubai considered was that the Qin family couldn't resist the Ji family, but the Qin family had Qin Daoxian, a monstrous-level patriarch, and it was hard to say who was afraid of whom at that time. Thinking of this, Zhou Mubai smiled bitterly. Brother Qin, you are thinking too much. Qin Daoxian shook his head. I know, Brother Zhou is also kind. For a while, the two were silent for a while. A long time. Zhou Mubai sighed again. Brother Qin, I know the purpose of your coming to me. I can only promise you, if your Qin family blocks the Ji family's offensive after this battle, in the future, my Zhou family will only follow the Qin family's horse. Okay. Brother Zhou speaks quickly, then it's a decision. It's a word. Zhou Mubai nodded. Say it. Qin Daoxuan's figure instantly disappeared in front of him, leaving only little ripples in the space. Looking at the position where Qin Daoxian disappeared, Zhou Mubai was lost for a while. Zhou Mubai knew that Qin Daoxian showed his hand in front of him just to demonstrate. But in general, the means of this demonstration are moderate enough. No shouting and killing, no open and dark guns. Just by teleporting through space, appearing and disappearing in front of him, the Zhou family had to surrender to the Qin family and recognize the status of the other party's first family in Sangzhou. Once the Zhou family surrenders, in Sangzhou, the Qin family is the absolute hegemon, and no family force can compete with the Qin family, just like the Jiang family in Taizhou and the Ji family in Jingzhou. Return to the main cabin of the Malong. Qin Daoxian had a smile on his face. On the side, Luo Li, who was closing his eyes and meditating, opened his eyes and looked at him curiously. What's wrong? Fine. Qin Daoxian smiled and shook his head. Although he didn't know what happened, but seeing the smile on Qin Daoxuan's face, Luo Li knew that something good must have happened, so a smile appeared on his pretty face. Seeing the smile on Luo Li's beautiful face, Qin Daoxian faintly felt that the main cabin became brighter. How is your water and sword intent practice? Hearing Ai Lang asking about her cultivation progress, Luo Likio's face was instantly filled with joy. She waved her snow-white little fists and said happily, Husband, the effect of your preaching is really good. I feel that the effect of my enlightenment is many times better than in the past. This feeling. It's like using enlightenment tea every 3 to 5. Hearing this, Qin Daoxian nodded with a smile. This practice method I practice can help myself and others store understanding, and it is indeed very similar to the effect of enlightenment tea. No wonder husband's cultivation speed is so fast. Luo Li was even happier when she saw that Qin Daoxian shared this kind of secret with him. It's just that Luo Li didn't know that storing comprehension was just the most basic ability in the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic. Qin Daoxian has practiced the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic so far, and he has long been more than the ability to store comprehension. Otherwise, his Dao realm would not be able to improve so fast. Enlightenment, preaching, enlightenment. Coupled with the more mysterious golden scriptures, as well as the Stardust Kendo map and unknown exercises he just obtained from the Wanxinghai Heritage Trial Space. The addition of these things, coupled with the opportunity of the true immortal origin realm, made him who he is now. If one of the above-mentioned opportunities is lacking, Qin Daoxuan's strength will not be as terrifying as it is now. In less than 50 years, his strength is comparable to that of a nascent soul cultivator, not to mention unheard of in Wanxinghai. I am afraid that in the entire history of Xianyun continent, there has never been such a monster. Between the two talking, the Malong number has passed through the space barriers set up by Qianyuan Jianzong outside the sect and entered the interior of Qianyuan Jianzong. Feeling the suddenly strong spiritual energy, Chen Daoxian paused, then smiled and said, "Miss, we are here." What? When Luo Li heard that the two had arrived at the Qianyuan sword sect, her heart suddenly tightened. After all, for the many races of Wanxinghai, Jinhai Hall's prestige is too great. And as the sect behind Jinhai Palace, how terrifying the Qianyuan sword sect should be. However, for Chen Daoxian, although Qianyuan Jianzong is still a behemoth, it is no longer so unattainable. Whether it is his own strength that is comparable to that of an ordinary nascent soul cultivator, or whether he has seen a wider world in the Wanxinghai inheritance trial, it made his vision no longer limited to a small Qianyuan sword sect and Wanxinghai. Chen Daoxian knew in his heart that if he could obtain the inheritance of Wanxinghai and become an official disciple of the unknown forces in the upper realm, it would be a real leap to the sky. At that time, sect forces like Qianyuan Jianzong, who can only be considered second-rate in Xian Yunzhu, may not be in his eyes at all. Not to mention the immortal cultivating families like the Jiang family and the Ji family, which seem to be far stronger than the Qin family. When they arrived in Sangzhou, all the spirit boats flew into the sect. The space barriers around the Qianyuan sword sect slowly merged until they completely disappeared. Chen Daoxian led the Qin family cultivators to get off the Malong number. Just now in Lingzhou, Chen Daoxian saw Fairy Qi Yao, who was wearing a high-level spirit armor and had a valiant appearance. The recovery of Zhenangwen this time was led by Fairy Qi Yao. As for why Fairy Qi Yao is leading, this involves the change of power within Qianyuan Jianzong. Chen Daoxian is neither interested nor qualified to know. Fairy Qi Yao stood in the air, looked at the Zhangzhou cultivators on the field, and said, "Everyone, I am. Introduce yourself and boost morale." The group of Zhangzhou monks who came here lived in a temporary military camp under the arrangement of the Qianyuan sword sect's outer disciples. All the monks who came from Zhangzhou this time add up to nearly 1 million. Coupled with the strength of Qianyuan Jianzong's own dispatch, there are a total of 1.5 million monks. It is impossible for so many people to rush to Zhenangwen Xiancheng without reorganization. That's not called recovering Zhenangwen, it's called courting death. Chen Daoxian once commanded the monk army, and he knew that there must be some work to do to reorganize the army. Unlike mortal armies, monk armies are reorganized much faster. But no matter how fast the reorganization is, it will take at least a few months. After so many years of waiting, neither Zhangzhou cultivator nor Qianyuan Jianzong cared about the mere months. The reorganization of Zhangzhou cultivator and Qianyuan Jianzong cultivator was led by the head coach, Fairy Qi Yao. In fact, with Chen Daoxuan's strength, it is more appropriate for him to lead this war. After all, the strength he showed was definitely stronger than Fairy Qi Yao, who had just broken through the golden core stage. It's just that Fairy Qi Yao led the recovery of Zhenangwen. In addition to recovering Zhenangwen itself, it also had the political purpose of gaining qualifications. Chen Daoxian and Fairy Qi Yao also have some friendship, why bother to do this offending thing? It seems to be in return for Chen Daoxian. When Fairy Qi Yao was reorganizing the Zhangzhou monks, she specially allocated all the monks of the Chen family and the vassal families of the Chen family to Chen Daoxian to lead them. As one of the few Jindan cultivators in this cultivator army, Chen Daoxian naturally has the right to lead an army. And because of Qin Daoxuan's amazing strength, the number of troops he led was still large, with a total of 300,000 people, reaching 1/5 of the entire army. After handing over the army under his leadership to Qin Fusheng for reorganization, Qin Daoxian fell into idleness again.
After all, Qin Daoxuan's experience in governing the army is really incomparable to that of Qin Fusheng, who has been in charge of the Qin family's military all the year round. Entrusting professional things to professional people is the family governance policy that Qin Daoxian has always pursued, and this time is no exception. Of course, he didn't need to worry about reorganizing the army, but Qin Daoxian wasn't really doing nothing. This time, when he came to Qianyuan Jinzong, Qin Daoxian also had another purpose, and that was to find the hall master of Jinhai Palace, because he had one thing to help him. Qianyuan Sword Sect. Beside Qin Daoxian, followed by a disciple of the inner sect of Zi Mansion, the two were flying towards the inner mountain of Qianyuan Jinzong. Senior Qin, in front of you is the dojo of Hall Master Qin. Is that the fairy mountain? Qin Daoxian pointed to a looming immortal mountain in front of him and asked. Looking in the direction of Qin Daoxuan's finger, the inner disciple of Zi Mansion shook his head and said, "It's not that one, that is Tianshu Peak, the dojo of Hall Master Qin, next to Tianshu Peak." Tianshu Peak. Qin Daoxian always felt a little familiar when talking about this name. After thinking for a while, he finally remembered where he had heard the name, and turned to continue asking, "That day, Shufeng, but the dojo of Hall Master Huyan?" You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.